Just in time for the holidays, it's time to break this down. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and we are going to be discussing here tonight probably about the loneliest generation ever. But as uncomfortable it might be for some to discuss, we're going to be talking about why black women are alone this Christmas. And man, oh man, it's not a new thing, but get ready because this is the new normal. It is destructive. It is unhealthy, it is depressing, and it's the way that things are going to be. And we're going to cover this from every angle here tonight, just in time for the holidays. So while all the ladies are sitting around hating and drinking their eggnog or taking their antidepressants, calling up their girlfriends and pretending everything is okay here, you can indulge in your guilty pleasure. Tune into tonight's program. And just for a few moments here, you can hear somebody go ahead and tell you the truth about this. Now, remember, we do not discuss dating. I'm not interested in dating. We're discussing power dynamics, and nothing makes you feel weaker and more powerless than knowing that other people would rather be somewhere other than with you. Before I get started here tonight, I do want to apologize in advance. I've been moving around here because I do move around. I'm out by an airport in a non-disclosed location. So I've done everything I can to get things as quiet as I can, so you might hear traffic in the background or the occasional airplane landing like every minute. So a lesson learned here, don't do this one again. All right, but we are going to go ahead and get right off into it here tonight. And man, there's a whole lot right here. Look, we're dealing with the loneliest generation of females ever. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And ladies, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Because everything that you think you've been doing right is wrong here. Now, where are we going to go ahead and start? Well, we might as well go ahead and start with Meagan Good. As you know, the actress Meagan Good just found out that she's going to be spending this Christmas by herself. She just found out she's going to be spending this Christmas alone. Man, that's a hell of a Christmas present. She just found out she's going to be by herself. That's going to be a hell of a way of doing it. Hell of a way of doing it. Do you think she saw this coming? Do you think she saw this coming? No, she didn't. You tell yourself you have it together. You tell yourself you have it all because remember, women are concerned about appearances here. And then in front of the whole damn world, you find out, yeah, it's not okay. Now, I want to read a little bit of this for you here because there are some things to learn and there are some things to find out. There's some things to find out. And this was published here 2 hours ago in People Magazine, through People Magazine here. Published a little over 2 hours ago. Little over 2 hours ago. And you can see the title here, Meagan Good and Devon Franklin split was a long time coming, sources say. Now, here's what it says. Meagan Good and Devon Franklin split may not have been a surprise to those who knew them. May not have been a surprise to those who knew them. And then you have to ask yourself why. Why is that? Well, the audio going on here says, after the Harlem actress 40 and the preacher 43 announced their decision to divorce on Tuesday after 9 years of marriage, a source tells People that Good and Franklin's breakup was a long time coming. Quote, their work schedules often kept them apart and they just haven't been spending a lot of time together this past year, the source says. Their schedules kept them apart and they haven't been spending a lot of time together. They haven't been spending a lot of time together. Sounds like somebody chose something. Sounds like they chose something other than what they're supposed to be focusing on. Sounds like that's what they're telling you here. Did it work out very well? Did it work out very well? You can either focus on where you're going to be or you can focus on where you're not going to be. That's the question you have to ask yourself. What are you going to be doing? And have we heard that before? Have we heard that before? Yeah, we heard that before because you'll remember that I covered this before with Common. Remember here? A couple of weeks ago. Covered that. I covered that, and you remember his breakup with Tiffany Haddish, and what did they say the issue was there? Oh, busy. They're busy. Busy. They're busy. They're busy. Sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? How is it there's so much of that you hear over and over again? How is that? How is that? Did somebody deceive you into thinking that you were going to find completion, wholeness, contentment, fulfillment in a job? Well, ain't no man gonna take care of me. Well, ain't no job gonna hug you. Ain't no job gonna hold you at night. There's not gonna be a job who's gonna be your companion. After you've gotten your bank account straight, there isn't a job who's going to celebrate with you and take an genuine interest in your quote-unquote success, because there is no success you can get at employment that's going to fulfill you more than the approval and confirmation and affirmation of your man does. It's going to be a lonely-ass Christmas. It is going to be a lonely-ass Christmas. In the chat room, my moderator, Unique, said, How are you too busy for your husband? How are you too busy for your husband? Maybe you're just unfit to have one, and that's how you end up without one. Maybe that's how that occurs. Or maybe you are a repeat disciplinary problem. Maybe you are a repeat disciplinary problem because you refuse to fix the issues that you have, because you refuse to moderate yourself, because you refuse to do that, then things get difficult for you. Making a couple of adjustments here, by the way. Maybe it's because you have refused to stop being a disciplinary problem. You find yourself in dire straits in other ways. And I couldn't help but think, in the recent past here, the poster child for that has been April Jones. She went from Omarion to Omarion's bandmate. That's a hell of a way. Talk about sleeping with snakes. And then when all of that blew up in her face, next thing you know, she just went desperately hunting for a sponsor. There's a whole bunch of females out here today who have spent the last few years, some of you the last few decades, but particularly the last couple of years here, hunting for a sponsor. It's slim pickings out there. You're looking for a producer, but if you ain't built for it, it goes bad. So first she jumped on Dr. Dre. Dre, fresh off his divorce to Nicole Young. This little old young gal didn't understand, baby. He sees you coming from a mile away. She thought she found the sucker. She found out the hot girl summer has been replaced with thought girl summer. Oh, it was a hell of a quick summer in her case. Just in case you were under the delusion that it was true love, now you find out this, oh, well, she's trying to run around with Tay Diggs. She's trying to, and I couldn't help but think to myself for a few moments here, you know, that show does sound familiar. Sure does sound familiar. Couldn't help but notice that sure did sound familiar. The young gals, the older gals, it is the same dilemma and the same problem for everyone. Same problem for everyone. This isn't a new issue. Everybody's trying to figure out how to make that work. And then when they run out of options, they start scurrying from one safe haven to another. It doesn't matter their age. What she's demonstrating is she's out of options. The young lady is demonstrating she's out of options. Out of options. There are lessons to be learned about that right now. There are lessons to be learned because you are not going to be able to invent producers out of nowhere and simply just running around saying, oh, well, I'm going to just get somebody and hopefully something better comes along. It's not really going to work out that way for you here. Let me be very, very clear that you understand something here. Taye Diggs is 50 years old now. 50. Taye Diggs is now 50 years old. Dr. Dre is 56. Dr. Dre is 56 years old. Do you understand that? 56. 56. April Jones is 35. That is the very definition that she's trying to get in where she fit in. She is jumping. All the stuff we told y'all, the young gals sitting up here, they tune into the program. They're sitting up here listening to the Black Winosphere. These dudes don't know how to properly tell them about anything. Yeah, ladies, if you think it's different to the young gals out here who I wouldn't date a fella in the 40s, April Jones is trying to find a nigga with some benefits. If he's got a pulse, she's giving him a call. I mean, she was talking about my baby. Dre is running around with a whole nother chick at the same time he was talking to her. She's like, oh, that's okay. Do what you do. Do what you do. Yeah, she's trying to get a retirement plan in there. She's trying to get a retirement plan in there. That's when you start realizing you got more days behind you than you do in front of you as far as productivity. Trying to get a retirement plan. She's trying to get one. She's trying to figure out, how do you make that work? How do you make that work? How do you make this stick? Because it's going to be hard as hell. It's going to be hard as hell is what it's going to be. While your friends are out there telling you how easy it's going to be hard as hell. Your celebrity and everything else is not going to help you. Ladies, these are for women who have celebrities. Fellas, these are women who have celebrity behind them there. And she's alone this year. Do you think she's out there with Taye Diggs? Taye Diggs is out there shopping for a new dress. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to remind people of that. Taye Diggs is out shopping for some lingerie. He ain't got time to sit up here and spend the holidays with you. He's trying to spend the holidays with them dudes. Okay, I'm not supposed to tell people about that. All right. We're supposed to forget about that. None of us are supposed to bring it up. We're not supposed to bring it up anymore. We're supposed to forget about that. All right, fine. I won't bring it up anymore. All right, fine. I'm done. Well, April, just understand, all you want for Christmas right now is your 2 front teeth. Let me explain to you why it's not a very inviting offer for you here. This is the reason why, man. If you want to know why it is, a lot of you are going to be alone this Christmas. Yikes. There you go. There you go. There you go, Miss Jones. There it is. You should have stuck with Amarion. You should have stayed where you were. This isn't a very inviting offer to any man, and certainly not one who has options. You should have thought this over a little bit longer. Folks, if you're feeling what I'm saying here, testify. They're trying to suppress the program here tonight. Can you hit my likes for me and hit my shares? Let's let people know what's really going on. We got a lot of ground to cover here tonight. We have a lot of ground to cover. Let's shake the haters off and get my likes up. The haters are trying to keep my likes down. Let's get the likes up. If you feel what I'm saying here, to all my producers out there, to the fellas out there who are producing and you're feeling what I'm saying, you tell me, is this an inviting offer for you this Christmas? If this is what you're looking for, to my fellas who are producing, if this is what you've been looking for, hit me with a thumbs up. If this is not what you're looking for, hit me with the thumbs down in the chat room. To the fellas who are feeling, to the fellas who, this is the situation that you looking to get into on your screen here. You have gotten yourself into the position of being a producer. You haven't become high value. You become peak value. You got all the options available to you here. And then this comes slinging through the door at you right now. All right. If this is what you were doing all that work for, hit me with the thumbs up. If this is not what you were doing all that work for, hit me with the thumbs down. And then go ahead and hit my likes for me. If you're feeling what we're talking about here tonight. Why are black women alone this Christmas? Why are they alone this Christmas? Speaking of which, I couldn't help but notice one Interesting thing there, by the way, because you have these females who are starting to dabble with dudes who are dabbling with dudes, it seems like. But I guess you got to get in where you fit in, because when you run out of options, you have no choice but to be the pass around. And she's taking some of the advice that we talked about here, where she's trying to stay in those circles. But that's only going to work for you for a certain extent. People see you coming now. But there's a bunch of you who are not even celebrities, and people see you coming. So you're in a position right now where you ain't even got a Dre to call on. How many of you 35-year-olds are listening to me right now and you need to be, or you've been trying to holler at a dude in his 40s, 50s, or older? I'm not mad at you. I think you need to stop being a disciplinary problem and get in where you fit in. Because right now you're sitting up here acting sedity and I'm bougie and I don't know if I could do that. In a little bit here, you're going to be full bore. I suggest you put your shame to the side and realize those are the options you have available to you. But it can be hard to accept. It can be hard to accept because what you're going to tell yourself is that there's another Omarion out there. No, there's not. No, there is not. What you're going to have to settle for is an older dude who will take you under his wing for a little bit, if that's available. And if you stick there long enough, he might let you stick around a little bit longer. That's where you're at. That's where you're at. Can't get better for you here. I want to go into a couple of things here because I want to go in depth about this. I found two articles that I thought were very interesting. First article I found here, and both of them were from Refinery 29. Why are millennials and Gen Z the loneliest generations? Oh boy, I'm going to hurt so many damn feelings here tonight. Now, this one was from October 21st. Millennials and Gen Z, the loneliest generations. So here we are. We're not on our way. The future is now, and the future is grim. Well, bad news comes in packs here, I suppose, because also from Refinery 29 is this article. Oh, and this isn't from October. This article is from November. Decolonizing love in a world rigged for black women's loneliness. Now, I'm just going to warn you right now where this is going. I think you can tell from the title what we're in for and where this ride is going to take us, but strap in anyway. And I'm going to read some of it here. I'm going to read some of it by Shadi Devereaux, or Shady Devereaux. If you go down here, it says, the glaring yet obscure truth is that this lack and scarcity, these unbearable consequences, and are not coincidental for us. Black women's loneliness and isolation are intentional, historical, systemic. Interesting. Let's see how that goes. Black women are increasingly isolated by society to devastating effects and then punished for talking about it. When black women online speak of isolation, loneliness, and lack of care in romantic relationships, people descend onto our vulnerability like sharks in a frenzy. Men ask what we bring to the table to demand so much. They blame us for the harms done to us by others, with accusations of, quote, choosing the wrong men in a world full of men socialized to devalue us. That's the writer of the article, Shady Devereaux. That's the writer of the article. Immediately jumping to say that women's choices, the fact that women chose this over the course of 50 years, women's choices are not to blame. It's the men to blame. The game is rigged. It's all your fault. It's the men. Right down to the fact that it doesn't matter if the women choose the men. It isn't the woman's criterion and her tastes in men that are wrong. It is the fact that the men are just all screwed up. That's the problem. The problem is it's just the men. The women are not at fault for anything. anything at all. It's just the men are congenitally messed up and all the women are correct. In the chat room, Nighty Night, you will be required to call in when the phone lines open up here in a few moments. You'll be required to call in. By the way, I do want to take just a brief moment right here in case any of you were wondering about Miss Shady Devereaux. I did take a little time to look a little bit further. Hello, Miss Devereaux. Hello, Miss Devereaux. I couldn't help but notice. I'm pretty sure that her experiences are very similar to most black women, or that most black women would consider her, based on her experiences, to be an authority on the subject, to be able to properly guide you. I'm sure she would be. I'm certain of it. I'm sure of it. But I just took a few moments here to look up Miss Devereaux here. And she's got quite the resume, or quite the experience here of writing and interest of writing. So I just thought I would go ahead and say that. So ladies, go ahead and gather around, because these are the females who are going to give you comfort and comfort you in what you're saying. So just want to take a few moments to go ahead and review that. Glad we got that out of the way. All right, so Ms. Devereaux goes on to say, they treat us as isolated cases with personal problems and our shared experiences as outliers of disrespect, when, for most of us, disregard is society's institutional way of engaging black women. Very few care about our tears, and in fact, we're told that our stories, along with the skin we long to be touched, makes us undesirable, and that we should keep them to ourselves, isolating us even more. They take black women's tears as something being done to them, as opposed to something they should help remediate. So what she's saying is that it's all our job to help fix these females, is what she's saying. She's saying it's our job to help fix them. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And that if we would just get better at fixing them, and if we would just get better at understanding why those things are why they do things to us, well, it would be different. That's what we need to do. So it's not that they need to change. You need to get better at understanding them and better at accepting it. Ladies, the world's not going to change for you. The world is not going to transform itself to make you more comfortable. That no matter how you feel when you get up in the morning, you can do whatever you want to, and the world needs to alter itself to make you comfortable. You're going to have to alter yourself. If what you're doing isn't working, you're going to have to change what you're doing. Either that or you will go extinct. She goes on to say, but there is knowledge behind the door of loneliness and freedom. The long nights of our bones aching from lack of holding. The pit in our stomach that moves when the chance of love comes near. This sounds like some very flowery, poetic hoe speech. Is this the poetic version of articulating being a hoe? Okay, I guess this is just the really flowery, poetic way of saying it. All right. Using a little bit too much language here, Miss Devereaux, but all right. I guess that's the best way of getting around to it. The shivers across our spine when we think of touch. These are the senses longing to return from the dead. It means that we are alive. It means that we are human, despite what the world has to say about, quote, the wrong kinds of women like us. But, black women, there is nothing wrong with us. The game is rigged. There's a small white man behind the curtain. Sometimes he leaves a man of color in his place. The world is a white supremacist, capitalist, ableist, patriarchy. Try saying that one 3 times fast. A cis hetero patriarchy. The world is a white supremacist, capitalist, ableist cis heteropatriarchy. That means even if we do not date men, men and their institutions shape the landscape of safety, worth, access, and opportunity for women based on their desirability to men. So, in other words, what she's saying is that you ladies listening right now, you all need to open yourselves up to new possibilities because, well, you shouldn't just pin it down. And even if your relationships to people who are not even men, even if that doesn't work out, well, that's not your fault. It's the men's fault if it doesn't work out. Even if you aren't talking to a man at all, it's still the men's fault if your relationships don't work. It's still your fault. So think about that for a few moments here. Basically, the men are to blame no matter what. It's the men's fault no matter what happens. I just thought all that was very interesting. I thought that was all very interesting. Miss Devereaux is stating what they want to hear. Don't forget to go ahead and hit my likes and my shares for me. Go ahead and hit that. They're going to be hating it. We're going to make sure we keep it real. I want to go ahead and review this part here, though. She says the world is white supremacist, capitalist, is a white supremacist, capitalist, ableist, cis heteropatriarchy. And think about that for a few moments. So, on the one hand, you get penalized for being broke. And then on the other hand, you are going to get penalized if you are not, I suppose is what they're saying. On the one hand, you're penalized if you're broke. And on the other hand, you're penalized if you're not. So you're told that you don't make enough money. You're told you don't do enough. You're told you don't make enough happen. You're told that your other folk make more money than you. And then you're told that the problem is that you are not doing enough, that you need to do more. So which one is it? Which is it? Is it that that black men are not trying enough? And then to say ableist. So what's the next thing? So first, black men are told that you're not, if you're not tall enough, if you're not athletic enough, if you're not good looking enough, that's not good enough. And then if you are, well, that's an issue also. I mean, if you are, that's an issue too. So if you're tall enough, you are cocky and entitled. If you are not, then you are inferior and boy, I'm telling you, it just kind of hits you coming and going. It kind of hits you coming and going. Now, I want to go ahead and finish up what she said here. She said the white supremacist construction of a cis, able-bodied white womanhood is the ideal to which we are subjected and rejected from womanhood. Under this pervasive system, our natural desires for connection, for sex, for love are compounded and exploited for profit. Media, tax breaks, and healthcare incentives for married couples combine to communicate that singleness will be punished. Fulfilling sexual desires outside of marriage will be shamed. Setting yourself up behind the 8 ball to be carrying many more times than you're capable of because you lack the discipline to control sexual irresponsibility because sex comes with consequences. Okay, that's everybody else's fault. All right. In any case here, media, tax breaks, and healthcare incentives for married couples combine to communicate that singleness will be punished. Fulfilling sexual desires outside of marriage will be shamed. Pursuing queer existence, queer relationships, or motherhood outside of heteronormativity will be grounds for humiliation, discrimination, and abuse. Now, this is not new. This has been an evolving psychology and an evolving social philosophy now for the better part of 4.5, 5 decades. And what it has resulted in is obvious. It has resulted in a generation of females now who, because they are unfit to be with a man, the only thing they can do is be with a job. And what they are expressing is that this situation where they are strapped to a job has simply robbed their psyche of their ability to be. That's what's happened. It's robbed their psyches of their ability to stay in any way fulfilled, because a job isn't going to take care of your emotional state. As a matter of fact, a job is a direct threat to your emotional state. And that's where they end up at. That's what it ends up being. So just understand, from the same magazine, the same website that was talking about how millennials and Gen Z are the loneliest generations, this is what they are prescribing to black people. This is what they're prescribing to black women, by the way. This is what they're prescribing to them. They go on to say here, isolation and the threat of it are used to dominate us into submission when we fall outside of the lines of acceptable womanhoods, centering men's desire. Some of us fall outside of these lines by virtue of our refusal to extinguish our own light, others by virtue of our birth, and even more for the crime of both, like black trans women, queer women, sex workers, and any of us who refuse to conform. This right here is a perfect stew to make sure that you are utterly undesirable for any men anywhere. Think about that for a few moments. This is to make sure that you are utterly undesirable to anyone anywhere. That's not a game, and that's not a joke. You know, you have young females. This article is calibrated to speak to young females, to grab them before they know who they are, to grab them before they know what they're doing, before they have an opportunity to be able to do that. This is calibrated to screw them up before they can even get started. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. It's calibrated to do that. It's calibrated for the purposes of screwing you up in development. You see, the real reason why so many women are alone this Christmas is because they've got entirely too many screwed off, screwed up, whacked out, mentally and emotionally unbalanced females in their proximity, feeding them with nothing but absolute garbage that is going to ensure that they are unfit to do anything but be with another female. And to be totally honest, you will not even be fit to be with that. That is not what you're going to be. You're not going to be fit to be with another female either. All you're really going to do is be fit to be alone, in which case you'll be sitting around writing tedious, laborious articles about it, but that is not going to fix your situation. I submit to you all that this is the loneliest Christmas on record. I submit to you all that for black women in particular, this is the loneliest on record, and it is only going to get worse from here. You are going to go around the country and you're going to witness and see as you are ending up with, in the old days, you had the entire family show up. Now, all you're seeing are a bunch of chicks with a bunch of bastard kids. And the situation is completely messed up. And even for the ones who are not bringing the bastard kids, they are bringing the mentality that's identical to the ones who are. But it goes even deeper than that. Let's be very, very clear about a few things. Just because you are with a man or with a person doesn't mean that you're not alone. Let's be very, very clear. The way in which the female psyche works is that if the man is not a winner, then she's by herself. Let me say that again. If the man is not a winner, she is by herself. A woman doesn't consider herself to be with a man if he's not a winner. If the guy is not winning, she considers that to be a loss. She considers that to be a loss if the man's not a winner. So if the man is not winning and not succeeding, as far as she's concerned this Christmas, she's by herself. So just understand that. So when we talk about the top 20% of men, the 80% of the females are trying to get with the top 20% of men because those are the winners. Those are the winners. So let's be clear about that. The top 20% of the winners, the females are trying to get with them. And if one of the top 20% is not available, even tangentially, as far as she's concerned, that's a loss. As far as she's concerned, that's a loss. So first of all, I want you to understand it was already difficult enough before, but with so many of them trying to get these only 1/5 of the men, it's a guaranteed formula for loneliness. So just understand when the females tell you there's nobody out here, what they're saying is there's nobody in that top 20% that she can have. So as far as she's concerned, she's alone. Even if she is quote unquote with a guy already, as far as she's concerned, her relationship status is single because that guy is not a winner. And if that guy is not a winner, as far as she's concerned, she's alone. And that's what it is. As far as she's concerned, she's alone. And just understand that that's the mentality that they bring as a group. We have to be clear about that. That's the mentality they have as a group. You are dealing with a situation right now where the world is slowed down. You have society that has been slowed down to an epic level. You call it lockdowns, but it's really a slowdown. And right now, it really puts it into regard who you have with you. When you're not able to go to your job or you're not able to travel to your job, as you usually would, it really reminds you of who's there and who isn't. And most women today, and particularly black women, are finding out they don't have anyone. They don't have anything at all, which means this has been a long, lonely holiday season. How many of the ladies listening to me right now, you spent Thanksgiving by yourself? How many of you spent Thanksgiving by yourself? You're going to spend Christmas by yourself and New Year's by yourself. You, your mom, your grandmom, generation after generation, group after group. That's where you're at. How many of you, that's where you are? How many of you are females in your 30s and your hoe phase swept you under and you told yourself as long as you had a job or your income was passable, it didn't really matter. And then you found out, nope, your value doesn't exceed the value of the man that you are able to get to commit to you. How many of you have taken that little pill and realized the reality there? How many? How many of you are looking at Christmas and realizing, damn, I'm going into my late 30s and I don't have anybody who is committed to me? You see, you can go and get pregnant by a dude. And I meant to talk about this the other day when I was speaking to the young lady, Misha from Orlando. If you all remember, there was a young woman from Orlando named Misha. And Misha said that a baby was a commitment. When I asked her about this, her friend who's a stripper who got pregnant by a drug dealer. And I said, in what way is he committed to her? And she said, a baby is a commitment. Let me go ahead and explain something to you here. There is a difference between an obligation and a commitment. That's the part that she didn't understand. There is a difference between an obligation and a commitment. Those two are not the same thing. You see, an obligation is something that is imposed on you from external sources. A commitment is something that you impose on yourself. It is something that you prescribe to yourself. You see, courts and jurisdictions, governments and laws can obligate you to a child, but there is no court, jurisdiction, or government that can make you be committed to either a child or to a woman. They're not able to do that. And because of that, if you think, well, don't worry, they'll take care of forcing this guy, because there are some people out there, unfortunately, there are some females out there who believe that they can actually force a man to care about them. It doesn't work that way. Yes, that is being congenitally immature, but it doesn't work that way. You cannot force them to care about you. You can't force that. That's not something that you can obligate. He's going to have to agree to that himself. But there's a difference between an obligation and a commitment. And what too many women are relying on are obligations, and obligations expire. A commitment can be forever. An obligation will expire. So, how many of the ladies listening to me right now, you've been running around all this time, it's holiday season, and at this point, everything was supposed to be in place. Those things that you grew up with as a child when you saw your mother and your father sitting around the Christmas tree, getting the family together, where all these people were able to come and bring their proof of the commitments that they were able to acquire, and you found that you don't actually have any. How many of the ladies listening to me right now, you're ready to admit and concede that you don't have that it didn't work out at all the way you had planned here, and that it is a very lonely Christmas this year? It's very, very lonely. Even if you have a dude, he ain't nothing that you are really impressed about. There's no competition for him. There are no females competing to be with him. It wasn't supposed to go down this way. It was supposed to be completely different. How many of you are willing to admit that? How many of you are willing to concede that? Because it's not like everybody doesn't see it at this point. It's a sad parade, and there's nothing more pathetic than being powerless, and one of the worst forms of powerlessness is when other people are trying to be away from you. I want to ask some simple questions about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. You can go ahead and give us a call. If you have been instructed already that you're going to have to call in, you are going to go ahead and need to do that now. We're having a special program here tonight, and I'm asking a simple question: why black women are alone this Christmas. This is the loneliest Christmas on record. This is the loneliest one on record at a time when people should be more affluent, have more freedom. They've got more ready communication, more upward mobility, more credit, more income than has ever been made, and they are more lonely, alone, and isolated, and discontent and unfulfilled than they've ever been. That's where we are right now. And most of you are unhappy about that. So I want to take this as an opportunity to go ahead and discuss that. The telephone number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. We're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines to you there. Before we do, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program here on PayPal or Cash App. Ms. Rosalind, thank you very much for your support here. We appreciate that as well. Mr. Patterson and everyone who's contributed on PayPal or Cash App, thank you very much for doing so here. We appreciate having you with us. We're going to go ahead and take a few phone calls here. I would advise you to go ahead and call in early. That'll be the best way to do that. Go ahead and call in early. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. As we are discussing why black women are alone this Christmas, it is a sad situation. It is a congenitally sad situation, and it is only going to get worse from here because at least your grandmamas knew a little bit of something. Now you've got two generations of females completely clueless about it. And are they willing to admit just how absolutely miserable they are? Maybe they will, maybe they don't. Let's go ahead and open up the phone lines here. Let me get caller from area code 470. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Joe calling from Milwaukee.
All right, Joe from Milwaukee, what's on your mind?
I'll just say this and I'll be quick. This is really just the chickens coming home to roost. Like I said, I've seen a lot of women in their 20s kind of wasting it, now they're in their 30s. I live in Atlanta, between Atlanta and Nashville, and I see it all day. I mean, I see women who were the hot stuff in college or, whatever else. Now they're on the scene, at the Christmas parties, and they're begging for a man who makes six figures to date them. And I mean, it's almost to the point. I went to a Christmas party in Atlanta last week, and the ratio, Jason, I'm not making this up, was about 12-1. I mean, women between the ages of 27 to 38, it was 12-1. The ratio was it was like playing duck hunt on Mario Brothers or something. And so it's just sad to see. But what I see right now is, like I said, the chickens coming home to roost. That's it.
Well, brother, let me find out here. How old are you?
I'm 38 now.
Okay, you're 38 years old, and you're out there in the Midwest here. And it's a very interesting thing because, at this point right here, do you think they realize that the plan has gone awry? Or have you witnessed here what I've witnessed and other folk witnessed, that it seems to be just taking a toll on their psyche?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I just had a conversation with a relative of mine, and great girl. She's not in that realm, and her friends aren't. But she sees it, and I have to tell her that it's not you, it's your generation, and the people who aren't raised with parents. They're making it tougher on you guys, and I see it with maybe some female friends of mine, went to college with. Just having that conversation with them. It's tough. To your point right here, Jason, I agreed in a couple of weeks to go back to Atlanta and meet with a friend of mine who's a hairstylist and a couple of her clients, her female clients, one's 25, one's 28, and they cannot find boyfriends. And they're like, I'm an engineer, I went to Georgia Tech, I did this and the third, and I just can't find a guy. And I'm like, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they think they can move like men. And then when they get to 25 plus, they want to find these guys. And by that time, we're kind of hitting our stride. And we're like, I'm good. And so, like I said, it's really the chickens coming home to roost. And if you don't remember, I'm the medical rep who went from Atlanta to Nashville. I'm just home for the holidays back in Milwaukee. But, I mean, you made a difference with me with doubling my income. And I'm going to throw that out there again with going to Nashville and taking that medical rep job and the medical device rep job in Nashville. But it's exactly what you said, man. You're just telling people what's going on. You're painting the picture. I mean, you're 2 years ahead of what's going on right now. But right now, it's sad, man. It's, and as brothers, as we get 30 plus, I hate to say it, but it's gotten beautiful.
Well, I mean, certainly we have never had more options than we've had before, but we've also never had worse options than we've had before, quite frankly. Because it's not like we're sifting through a bunch of dimes out here. I mean, it's not like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's like looking for a needle in a stack of needles, unfortunately. But thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get caller from area code 301. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Jason. My name is Kelvin. I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Hello, Kelvin from Washington. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just definitely want to agree with everything that you've said. I think I would say that a lot of women, they are alone, but I don't know if they're lonely, because a lot of women that I've even talked to, they haven't had boyfriends in like 10 years. So it's almost like when you come across women that you're dating, you have more dating experience than they do. And then, that goes into a lot of different other areas, such as like emotions. I was talking to this girl, and she said that I think that, men showing any type of emotion is a weakness. Like they think more masculine than the guys do right now. So like, just to even go to your point about like Valentine's Day, like with the Galentine, I think that they're in a season where they're just looking for any type of way to kind of avoid avoid that loneliness. So they'll do the Galentines. They'll get all their girlfriends together. They'll drink and all of that. And what they're doing right now for Christmas and Thanksgiving, they have their dogs. If you talk to a lot of these girls right now, a lot of women that are in their 30s, a lot of them have dogs because they're trying to replace men and the necessity of men. They just need some type of companionship. So, like, even when I've talked to some women and I ask them about holidays, and I say, yes, do you have any traditions that you recall? No, I don't have any traditions. Holidays aren't important to me. It's almost like they're living in their own separate world.
Well, they are.
Not
I mean,
including us.
it's not just a separate world. They're living in one very large coping mechanism. That's where they're at right now. The things you just named there. When we talk about dogs, drinking, hanging out with their girlfriends. Look, there is no substitute for a man. There is absolutely no substitute for a genuine man in your life. That's it. That's going to be the final report card on a woman. And you're not going to be able to substitute that. When you have these females who have surrounded themselves with children, surrounded themselves with pets, that is a sign of deep-seated emotional imbalance. You're trying to have a coping mechanism. You are trying to have some substitute, and there is no substitute. What you're really expressing is, look, I never made it with a man. I never got a life of my own. And I've talked about this before, when your peer group, when your social circle and your peer group consists of children and non-humans, think about that for a few moments. Your social circle consists of children and non-humans. Nothing says failure like that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 314. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller from 314 has been abducted. Let me get caller from area code 757. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? I'm calling from down in Virginia. I just wanted to say...
What is your name?
Oh, sorry about that. My name is Perry.
And where are you calling from?
Virginia.
Caller from area code 901. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Chris from Memphis.
Chris from Memphis. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I got a question. Maybe you can help me with this. I keep running into a problem. Whenever I'm dating a woman, it tends to go left whenever I ask the question, what do you bring to the table? I just don't understand why it goes left after I ask this question. Maybe you can help me with it.
Well, because if you have to even say that, here's something that the rest of these guys, the black winosphere and the red pillars, don't understand. Do you understand that if a man even has to ask that question, you're asking that question because it's not self-evident? I want you to understand that. When men or women say that to each other, they're saying that because the person they're talking to, it's not self-evident. Let me give you an example. Let's just say that, and I'm just saying this as an example, let's just say you met Beyonce. Would you ever ask her what she brings to the table? Well, you would never even think to ask that. Well, why? It's self-evident. If you met Oprah, would you even ask that? No, it's self-evident. So the real thing is people understand, not just women, but people understand that when that question is asked, it is because whatever it is you bring to the table, it isn't self-evident. It doesn't speak for itself. That is why we as men, we rob ourselves of our greatest tool when you sit up here and start saying garbage like it doesn't matter what you produce, it doesn't matter about your income or whatever. No, we need that as men because that is what we bring to the table. It is something that is self-evident. It is our accomplishments. It is a tangible manifestation that speaks for itself. Don't let anyone sit up here and tell you that you need to have some intangible that people need to use divining rods to be able to figure out. What you bring to the table should speak for itself. It should be obvious and self-evident. Like, for example, it doesn't matter about the female you meet. Okay, let's just say you meet a cute female. Okay, you meet a female, she looks nice. In the first few moments she opens up her mouth and speaks to you, it will give you an idea about her value, who she is, what she's about. You shouldn't be 30 years old and need to talk to a female for a couple of hours to figure out if she's worth talking to for a couple of weeks. You should get to a point where you really only need to talk to her for a minute or two. You can hear her diction. You can hear her vocabulary. You can hear her tone. You can hear her intonation. And you can determine very, very quickly if this is worth your time. And then we're going to find out if water is going to meet its own level. If you're a guy who doesn't have very much going for you, then you are going to take what you can get, however you can get it. So just understand, when you ask that question, well, what do you bring to the table? The person who knows that it's not self-evident, they are going to get offended. The person who has something to bring to the table won't even be asked that. That's the answer.
10-4. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yes, I know. While folks are out there lighting their incense and painting their toenails and spinning their perpetual motion machines, you never actually heard somebody say that to you before. By the way, it was just explained to you, and that's an explanation you're able to take with you anywhere and everywhere you go. Please make sure you're sharing tonight's program. Very, very important that we do that. Make sure you're sharing tonight's program for us here, okay? Let me get caller from area code 310. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
You're on live. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay. I didn't know you were talking to me.
When you heard the
My name is
unmuted,
Milton
that
Anthony.
was you.
My name is Milton Anthony. Can you hear me?
And where are you calling from, Milton?
I'm from Los Angeles, California, man. And I just wanted to call and tell you, man, look, I think you're doing the Lord's work. Sorry about that because I'm watching it, but I got it on mute. It's on my TV. So I just would like to say, brother, look, I sit right here. My daughter, she's watching the show as well, brother. When you said that about the intangibles, people want those credits for the intangibles. Like, give me credit for what I haven't shown you. I'll feel you 100%, man. I let my daughter, she's 16 years old. I let her watch this. She goes to Horseman High School. And I'm just letting you know, man, you're doing the Lord's work. And I really appreciate everything you're doing, man. And I have a question for you, too.
Okay, what's your question?
All right, brother. How do you deal with this situation? Like, I'm a single father, and my daughter's mom passed away and everything like that. And I'm, like, not trying to really get out there in the field. But how do you keep such a keen instinct on knowing the difference between those who are and those who aren't? Because I have a very big fear of bringing those who aren't in front of my daughter because I don't want her to grow up under the wrong tutelage.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with your phone, but your phone's getting real muddled on you. So if you're on Bluetooth headphones or speakers, you need to take it off. You're getting real muddled. So I'll give you one more chance to try that question again.
Sorry about that, brother. Do I sound better now?
Okay, what's your question?
How do you know? What do you use to understand those who are and those who aren't? Because I'm in the situation where I have a kid. She's 16, and and she goes to Horseman High School. And how do you like learn? Because I don't seem to be finding anything out here that's worthwhile. Like I find females who brag about their body counts and try to compete. I'm 6'4", so I get females who don't like the fact that I have a decent body count, I guess, and they try to compete against me. What is the tool to? I mean, I know it takes 2 or 3 minutes to decipher between for them. That's for the streets and everything like that. But how did you get to this point? Because I strive to be an intellectual individual on your caliber because you're really above me on this. I make mistakes sometimes. I only have one kid, but man,
Okay,
I don't know.
well,
What is a good?
Let me go ahead and try to simplify this for you. It is because losers attract losers. They don't attract winners. Winners attract both winners and losers. So that's the first thing to understand. What you're going to have to start taking a look at is what are you attracting? Are you attracting winners or are you attracting losers? Because what you just mentioned was body counts. I didn't hear anything about intellect. I didn't hear anything about personality. I didn't hear anything about character. I didn't hear anything about feminine attributes. I just heard about body counts. So the first thing I have to ask is, okay, if we are consistently dealing with a low level of female, I got to ask the guy and I got to ask some questions about him. How's he moving? What's he doing?
Yes, sir.
So let me find out here. How old are you and what do you do for a living?
38. I do security and truck drive, but I can't really truck drive right now because I'm recently became a single father.
You're 38 years old and you work security.
Yes, sir.
And he just recently became a single father, which means at 38 years old, he's still making reckless sexual moves out here.
Not necessarily. I mean, I try to refrain from it.
Slow down. Whoa, not necessarily. Okay. How did you become a father at 38, sir?
No, I became a father at 22, and the mother just recently was deceased.
Oh, okay.
And so I couldn't. I had to stop driving trucks because of that.
Okay, I misunderstood what you were saying there.
She's sitting right here.
You became a single father because someone's deceased. Okay, I got that. Well, the thing is, I mean, you're dealing with a teenager.
Sickle cell.
Okay, sorry to hear that. Well, like I say, in this situation here, I want you to understand, because this also comes down to the way in which you're moving. I understand that you had to make some changes recently. I get that. But this goes to another issue here, because you're in Los Angeles, okay? Let's just be very, very clear.
Yep.
Now, it is what it is. You are in a place where it is not cheap to get along. You are in a place where there are not just assumptions being made, but obligations being made out of the gate. I mean, I think the median home price in California now is $400,000 or $500,000. So right there off the bat, what that tells you is people are going to be evaluating you differently here. Now, my condolences about your child's mother and everything. My condolences about that.
Don't worry about that. I'm winning. Don't worry about that. I'm winning.
But the thing is, at this point now, like I say, as far as the females, the good news is you're not dealing with a little child, okay? You're dealing with a teenager. At this point right now, there's not a lot more grooming or raising you can do with her. To be totally honest, she's 16 years old, so for the most part, whatever, if you all did it right, it set in, and if you didn't, it set in. So one way or the other, we're about to find out. I'm going to assume that, you did more right than incorrect. I'm going to assume you did. So with that being the case here, as far as, other females are concerned, what I am going to say is they're going to respond to what they see, because that's the first thing. I am a big proponent, because this is the way I try to do things myself. It needs to be self-evident. I'm going to ask you a straightforward question. Are your accomplishments in life self-evident?
Not exactly. No.
Which means not at all.
I said no. They're not.
Okay.
They're not evident. Like I'm kind of like a trust fund kind of individual. Like trust fund, it's like takes a while for it. Okay. But no, let's say just like no.
Well, there's my point there, because what I'm saying is that people are going to ask stupid questions, or they're going to make stupid assumptions based on what they see, based on how you present yourself. There's a reason why the way we dress, the way we talk, and what we drive are important. Let me say that again, people. There's a reason why the way we dress, the way we talk, and what we drive are important. If you are still looking and moving at the age of 40 the way you were when you were 30, there's a problem. I want to say that. I want to say that to every male listening right now. This is not about you trying to drive a Lamborghini. This is about understanding that if you're 40 years old and driving a Yugo, that's a problem. If you've been working for 20 years and your life is stagnated, you have communicated to the world that there's been no progress. So don't be surprised when people treat you as if there's been no progress. That doesn't mean they have to know all your business, but there need to be some specific cues about you that communicate for themselves, that speak for themselves, that speak on their own, that demonstrate where you are. You have to have something with you that is constantly doing that. Now, for some men, it's the way they dress. And then, just like I told the previous caller, when you open your mouth, that's going to tell people what you are. When you open your mouth, those two things right there open up a lot. Those two things do that. Or what you drive and how you dress, or how you talk and what you drive. What I'm saying is, one is what you're showing through yourself. The other one is proof. You see what I mean? You brought something tangible.
Yeah, I got you.
So there's the real point of it, is did you bring some type of tangible confirmation that a person can see, something that's not open to interpretation, something that is objective and they can see it in front of them. As a man, especially when you get older, that's what you're supposed to do. The other thing is, understand something now, you're heading towards the age of 40 at this point. Now, this is very, very important. It's very, very important because by the age of 40, bottom line, females assume that by the age of 40, you got this thing figured out. And I'm talking about figured out from top to bottom. She is going to assume that if you are a 40-year-old black male in California, it's one of two things. There is no in between. Either he's got it together and he's got this whole thing figured out, or he doesn't have it together and he's never going to get it. Now, that's the assumption they make. As soon as you say I'm 38 years old, she's going to be like, she's going to look at you the way you are and say either he's got it and I can hitch my wagon to him, or he ain't got it and he's never going to get it. And that is what it is. There's nothing you can do about that to change that because they've been around the block long enough. They've seen enough fakers. At this point, it's either you got it or you don't. Now, guess what? You're the same way. You are actually the same way. You know how I mean that? But because when you meet a female and she's 40 years old or she's 38 years old, what do you think? Do you think there's room to grow, or do you think what I see is what I get? This is what she is.
Actually, I won't go for those. I go for the younger ones, bro.
Well, okay, I understand that, but the reason why you want to deal with the younger ones is because you're like, what you're saying is, once they get to a certain point, you're like, okay, she's set in her ways, and what I see is what I get, and that's it. Well, it works the same way for the females. She, at the age of 38, when she meets you, she's going to be like, this is what I'm going to get. So I got, if either he's up to code and I approve, or he's not. And that's it. So if you're not getting the responses that you want to be getting, it is either because you need to step your game up, and you're going to have to just accept that you're going to have some things that are self-explanatory. At the age of 40, a man should have some things that speak for themselves. There should be a bank account that speaks for itself. There should be some assets that speak for themselves. And there should be some accessories or trappings to you. And you don't have to be a style horse or a clothes horse. I damn sure ain't. But there need to be some things that speak for themselves. And then, you don't, like I said, somebody tell Kitten Heels, I don't tell men ask what you bring to the table. You are, as the man, you are the table. But understand something. Nobody should walk up to a table and ask, what is this? Is this a pencil? Is this, a lampshade?
Is this a plastic table with metal legs underneath?
Well, not even
the legs are going to fall out through the bottom.
Right, but a person should be able to walk up and tell this is a table. And if they're walking up to you and they can't tell that you're a table, you need to take a look at yourself and ask, okay, either this person is blind or I don't present myself as a table.
I got you. All right. I understand that. That actually, it makes perfect sense to me because I happen to be like a certain individual. Like I have a certain type of, like a level of intelligence. And I understand what you're saying because it's just, I guess my whole fear is putting too much out there and then having females think that I'm just like a cash cow or something like that. But I understand what you're saying. It should be self-evident, so I shouldn't have to show off or anything like that.
Well, the thing is, but there should be something in your life that is exceptional and is self-evident. Let me just say it like that. If you want females who are not basic, then you have to be exceptional in your own way. And that doesn't mean just between your ears. There needs to be something that the society in general recognizes as being exceptional. Or you may have to accept the reality that you are the average guy. Now, that might be something you have to accept as well. Because simply because you're not in and out of jail, those guys are okay, well, you say those words, but brother, I got some negative vibes to lay on you here. Do you understand the reason? I've been teaching you all this for a while. Do you understand the reason why it is that females have such a negative reaction to quote unquote the average guy? Do you understand why that is?
I think because the average guy is like a dime a dozen, and those guys,
Okay.
those guys always shoot their shots.
That's
and
not the
the
problem.
top of the notch guys don't ever really. What was that?
The objective reason why females intrinsically, reflexively react negatively to the quote average guy is because the average guy is struggling. I've been teaching you all this now for years. This is a brutal reality that you all are going to have to accept. It is not for debate. It's not for negotiation. It's not for argument. The average guy is nice. The average guy is polite. The average guy is attentive. He is also struggling. The average black male,
Yeah, I get you.
the average black male makes around $42,000 a year. Think about that for a few moments.
Hit it right on the nose.
The average black male makes, okay.
Hit it right on the nose.
Right. But do you understand that in California, that means it would be impossible to buy a home?
Yep.
Now, think about that for a few moments. So a female who meets the average guy, and if that's you, at $42,000 a year, she's like, he can't even really afford rent in California like that.
Oh, I got you. Never thought about this.
Think
like
about
this,
that for a few moments. Think about that for a few moments. So really, to be totally honest with you there, she's like, okay, this guy's barely able to afford whatever the subsistence rent is. So she's automatically, for a female, remember, she's automatically calculating what type of future am I going to have with him? Because especially if she's doing better than you are. Because now you start making the argument that, well, she needs to appreciate my personality. A woman needs to feel that the man that she is with is the best she can do. There's absolutely no way she's going to tell herself that if she's already doing better than you. How are you going to convince her that you're qualified to be her social leader when you are not her financial leader? Hell, you're not even financially competitive with her. So what you're then relying on is, well, you should adhere to me because I'm a male.
Yeah, it don't work like that.
Well,
not from my experience.
You will end up with a certain type of female. If you do that, you'll end up with a certain type of female. There is a certain type of female who will adhere to that, yes.
I get gangbanger bitches. Like, I get hoes and everything like that easily. Because, like, 6'4" goes a very long way in this male kingdom. But it's like, man, I'm getting tired of that. And I started trying to look for, like, a decent female where I can just go. Like, I don't want to be embarrassed when I go. Look, I get most female I see, and then, like, when we go to hotels, and then the hotel owner knows them. And I'm tired of that. Like, why are you cool with this person in the hotel already like that? Like, that's not cool to me. And it's like, those are easy. Like, trust me, I know how to shoot down. I don't. If I can't aim up, I know how to shoot down.
Okay, but
So
here's
it's
the
like,
difference.
I want
There's a
something I can bring
difference.
around my kids.
Yeah, there's a difference between getting sex and getting a commitment from somebody who's worthwhile. There's a difference between those two things. And the bottom line is that decent females do not gravitate to men who are struggling.
Yeah, I guess so. I ain't been able to get one for a minute.
Well, but just understand, decent females are females with options, and a female with options is not going to make a priority of a man that she knows is struggling. She will be very nice and very polite and very congenial as she moves you to the friend zone, and then you're stuck with chicks who are of lesser quality, and it's like, okay, I can get them in the bed, yeah, but they're not worth anything, which is why you were able to get them in the bed. What you're not trying to do is provide any resources for them. You're not trying to elevate their lives. The female who's worth elevating is looking at you and saying, yeah, but this guy's struggling, so why should I avail myself here? So the bottom line is, I think what we're saying here is it's time to start stepping our game up. I'm a big proponent. In your case here, brother, you need to be making at least twice what you're making now.
I got you. Once I get back in this truck, man, I'm being back at like 85. Like, that's what I usually make, driving trucks. Right now, doing this security thing during this little hiatus thing. I really don't get that much, but trucks is like 85 a year, man. That's comfortable, and like
Yeah,
sending
I
back
mean,
home like bed and stuff like
But
that.
I want you all to understand something here. Sexual access is the bottom of the barrel. That if that shouldn't even be mentioned as a standard or a goal, but if the only thing we have to discuss as far as accomplishment is sexual access, that's our first clue that nothing is working. That's the first clue. But I would tell you that that's where you need to start there. You need to work on getting your income doubled, and then you need to work on getting it doubled again. Because truth be told, where you are, you really need to be making around 150,000 out there. And when you get to that point, you're not even going to have those kind of bottom feeders you've been slumming with even talking to you, because they're going to be like, oh hell, this nigga look like he got 4 feet because he looks like a table. I mean, we'll understand something. You want to look like a table when you walk up to him. When you walk up, it needs to be, oh, this nigga look like he got 4 legs because he's a table. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, it's not about being Jay-Z. It's not about being wealthy like that. I'm not on that level here, but what I have is self-evident. And as a man, it needs to be self-evident there. Remember what I said, though. Females consider themselves to be alone if the man that they're with is not a winner. If the man that they're with is not a winner, as far as she's concerned, she's alone. As far as she's concerned, she's by herself. That's what we're talking about here tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 419. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Jason? This is Joe calling out of Toledo.
Joe from Toledo, what's on your mind?
As I always say, Jason, you keep it 100. This title is a great title. Alone on Christmas. I mean, you did the one along on Thanksgiving, and you did along on Valentine's Day. You always break it down. I just want to just share this part that I think that there's also a male shortage on multiple levels in the Black community with the rich and the poor. And if you are a female that's stubborn, you will be alone on these special occasions. Not even a high value man or an average man today will commit with a woman with 1 or 2 or 3 more kids today. And I say that because those occasions are special, always special for your significant one that you want to involve with. So you hit the nail on the head on those levels. And thank you very much, bro. Be one. Keep it real.
Blackbird, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 434. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Jason Black. My name is Jay Higgs, calling out of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Jay out of Raleigh, what's on your mind?
Well, man, I need some advice, man. I'm kind of down bad at the moment. I just recently lost my job. I was, and ironically, I turned down a job offer and make about $20,000 more than what I was making. But I was like, in order to go back to Virginia, but I was kind of hesitant because that job I was at the time kind of following Mr. Biden's mandate. And then on top of that, it was like I lived there for a few years and everything, and it's like it won't really nothing out there for me. And I kind of just moved to Raleigh like a little over 2 months ago. So when I got that job offer.
Okay, let me find out here. What is your question?
My question is, could you help me out on I guess my career path and everything, because I majored. My original job was a engineer technician. I was like learning how to build heater systems.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like I said.
I'm going to be having a program here tomorrow night. So I'm going to be doing a program tomorrow night on my Patreon. If you're not a member of it, the link is in the description. You definitely want to go ahead and join us for that.
All right.
Follow the link in the description. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 856. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Anna from Fredericksburg. How are you doing today?
Okay, you're fighting with your phone. Try again. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Sorry about that. This is Anna from Fredericksburg, Virginia, by way of Mount Holly, New Jersey.
Okay, Anna from Fredericksburg, Virginia. What's on your mind?
Yes. So when you talked about in the beginning, women being alone, Black women specifically being alone on Christmas, it just makes me think about two women who I used to associate with. One is 48 and one just turned 52. I don't talk to them anymore. And I found that they had a lot of bitterness and a lot of anger. It made me think of my own mother for a variety of reasons. And I find that it seems like the older they get and the more, I guess you could say, or the less there are in a man's company, they tend to become very bitter and very hateful towards women who are married like myself or women who happen to have something going for themselves. And I just really don't understand. I'm like, the source of your problem is you not dealing with your emotional issues and your emotional baggage and being somebody who a man actually wants to be around. I listened to a few of your podcasts that you did this earlier this month on this channel, and they were so enlightening. Like, I was laughing at a lot of what you were saying because I'm like, he is so right. Like, you were putting these women in their place about how they're supposed to be. Don't be hoes. Don't be combative. Don't be disrespectful. What do you have to offer, man? A lot of these older women, not trying to bash, but I'm just saying the ones that are older who are bitter in that sense, who are sitting here alone for this holiday weekend, and for the ones to come, they tend to fit a lot of those characteristics. And I'm just like, what is your problem where you can't realize, let me try to work on myself so I can be in a man's company? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand how some people can't get out of their own way.
You have to think of it in these terms. After a certain period of time, when a woman has been alone, when she has been isolated with other alone females, when her mentors are other failed, lonely females, and when that female becomes such a disciplinary problem that she is intransigent, look it up, that she is stubborn, she is unwilling to change, and at that point she no longer even has a frame of reference to change because she's set in her ways. In other words, she is more comfortable continuing to fail than she is to make any alterations where she could succeed. Just understand, if that woman is your mother, if that woman is your teacher, if that woman is the pastor's wife at your church, if that woman is a female that you hold in any esteem or having any sort of influence, just understand you're dead. She's institutionalized. That's what you have to understand. She is institutionalized. There is no, well, let me go ahead and see if we can, get some knowledge from her and stuff. She is done. She's set. That's it. She's through. Her emotional nerves have been rubbed so raw that she doesn't mind losing. You see, there's the difference between younger females and older females. Younger females are still at the point in life where they realize what's possible in front of them and they want to win. Older females are so used to running their heads into a wall. They're so used to messing up. They're so used to being stubborn and bullheaded and ego-driven that they're willing to lose. So if anybody wants to know the primary difference between younger females and older females, is because the younger females still want to win. Older females as a group tend to be comfortable losing. They would rather fail, quote unquote, doing it their way than to succeed doing it someone else's. So probably the primary difference between you and them is that you are not comfortable losing. That's probably the primary difference.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. Not to talk too much about myself, but my husband is a high-value man. I own 2 companies that he invested in. We have 2 kids, been married for almost 5 years. So we're very fortunate. I'm very grateful to have him, and I recognize that a lot of what I have does come from, God first, but then him second, because he is a high-quality man who invested in a high-quality woman. But the funny part about it is when I look at my mom, had she not married my stepfather, who I will admit is a simp, my mom would not have the type of life that she has. This is his 3rd marriage. It's her 1st marriage. I am one of 4 kids in that household. So she had never been married before. My father was married when she met him. My 3 younger siblings, their dad was recently divorced. He refused to marry my mom. And when my husband and I got engaged, she was very jealous and had told me that I couldn't marry him. Not for any particular reason as far as a character flaw on his part, but I believe that she saw qualities in him that would allow me to exceed where she was at in life. And I feel like she still does have some bitterness and unhappiness for whatever reason I can't understand because of the stuff that he's given her. He's done a whole lot more, if you ask me, that's my mother, than what she deserves. I'm just going to be honest with you. She is not the type of person who deserves someone like that because of who she is.
Well, certainly there's the real issue is that in the modern era, you've really cultivated a group of females who, and this is really what they're dealing with, they are trying to get over on somebody. Now, that's the real reason. If you want to know one of the big reasons why black women are alone this Christmas, if you really want to know why that is, it is because so many of them as a group, I have to tell the truth right now, ladies, as a group, so many of you have cultivated an attitude that you're here to get over on somebody, that you're here to try to get over on them. I'm going to bring a bunch of kids since the baby daddy wouldn't do what I wanted him to do. I'm going to go see if I can find a fresh victim, somebody who had nothing to do with where I've been, nothing to do with what I did, but I'm entitled to it. So you combine entitlement with selfishness, and you get somebody who approaches the world saying, I'm going to get over on them. So what becomes the game plan? Then they go looking for the productive simp. Now, back in the day, they were looking for, quote, the thug with a heart, but now they're looking for the productive simp. They're looking for the guy who is going to produce for them, all the while never expecting anything from them. Now, that's what they're looking for. I want the guy who's going to produce for me, but he's not going to expect anything from me. That's literally what they're approaching it with. Now, that's that princess fallacy. Now, a princess can expect people to produce for her while she does nothing for them. But when you have individual females approaching individual men and saying, hello, I am your princess here, bow and show me glory. I mean, that's what that's what you're ending up with here now. And when it doesn't happen, then they get together in these large groups, which is what we got now. They get together in very large groups and tell you that the problem is the men. And if the men would just understand how valuable and how great we are, they would change. So thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Certainly, like I say, they've got enough of them together now. They can form social circles of failure, but what they haven't got is a social circle of success. Let me get caller from area code 843. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
TBA to Tobias out of Phoenix.
Tobias out of Phoenix. Brother, what's on your mind?
Man, when you read that article earlier, I noticed she never talked about her husband, if she had one. But it's not, the answer is simple. It's choices. Remember that cartoon with those kids, Dragon's Lair, where Dirk the Daring had to go left, he fall into a pit of snake. He goes right, he falls into a fire pit. If he goes straight, he gets the gold of the princess. Excuse me. A lot of these women take the wrong path, and they know it's the wrong path because they've seen it. And there's what happened now, these guys ain't giving no excuses because they've seen it. These women growing up, they see their mamas make these same bad choices. They see their friends making these same bad choices. Maybe their sisters making these same bad choices. And so it's like, because it ain't a mistake, it's a choice. So when you evaluating somebody like that, you're like, if a woman who's seeing all this, lived this, and would still make this piss poor choice, how can I look at her and say she'll be my wife and mother of my kids? And I think what's happening is these women, because correct me if I'm wrong here, a lot of these women go on trips because of emotional reasons. You got women moving across to different towns, not because of a job, but they want to say new beginnings. Men move because of a job, a business opportunity. They make life decisions based on emotions, and they want men to act like, to take the excuses. But these women act like, how should I say this? They look at life of what he should be a good father. He should take care of his kids. We look at him as like, you got with a guy with 4 or 5 kids. What makes you think he's a good father? He is what he is. Life is about what is, not about what should be. And you're seeing how it is, and you're seeing how these choices are affecting them now, because you got women with small kids, they late 30s, thinking they can still find the right man. But they still won't get it through their heads. You may only meet one guy who will produce for you, who will make sure you're good, who will make sure you're taken care of. And you mess that up, you may not find another one. Because that easy, these women would have found another one.
Tobias, you really just nailed it. And that's the real thing that we have to deal with here right now is, ladies, people listening to me right now, the reason that black women as a group are alone this Christmas, Tobias, if I may to just lay the brutal reality on people, is because you already found the best you could do. You were unwilling to accept that that's the best you can do. You already found the fella. You've got delusions in your head that you are worth way more than you actually are. But the reality is you already met the guy who is the best you could do. You already met the top of your pay grade. You already met him. And for whatever reason, you either fumbled the ball or screwed it up, whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is you already met him. And either you walked away or he decided you were too much trouble. But that was it. Instead of realizing and accepting this right here is the best I can do and go home. By the way, Tobias, which is what men do. Men have to figure out very, very quickly if we found the best we can do. We don't get to sit up here and be like, okay, well, let me keep looking around. Well, the women have decided that they just will keep looking, and it just becomes this perpetual treasure hunt. But because they're unwilling to accept this is the best I can do until finally, usually what happens is they have to go down 2 or 3 steps. It's usually after they have 2 or 3 steps below that, sometimes many more below that, then they accept, oh hell, that guy's 7, the man I was with was 7 or 8 years back there. That was the best I could do. So welcome to Christmas 2021, holiday season 2021. A lot of lonely chicks out there because they refuse to accept the obvious. That man that you with, that dude you're with, you know, the one who bought you that Kia Rio. All right, that's the best you could do. That was your producer. That was the guy who was willing to offer you that was the best pedestal you could get. For who and what you are, that was the best pedestal you could get. And rather than being grateful for it, taking your winnings and going home, you instead saying, I'll be damned, this is just a Kia Rio. Now you got a bus pass.
And one thing also, I don't know if you saw, there's these stories going out that, and you hit this one on the head years ago. Aisha Curry and Steph Curry are talking about wide open, they having flings and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, Aisha, you're just getting banged. He could find another wife. You ain't gonna find another one of him. And if you get divorced from this man got he made the most money in NBA history, not top of endorsements. You're not getting that again. He can find another one with you 10 years younger and no kids. So that's what you're getting at. Was like, that's the best she got, and they don't understand when they won.
Well,
because I always say a lot of these women don't.
It comes to another. I'll let you finish your point here in just a moment, but you made a very good point there. It comes from a perception. If I got one Steph Curry, I can get another one. That's literally what Aisha tells herself. If I got one Steph Curry, the fact that one of his teammates may be trying to sleep with me is proof that I can get another one.
And one thing here, we know this, and women don't get this. Ladies out there, how many men that have you been with that will spend their last dime on you? You know, he would rather eat top ramen, make sure you good. Or if you need a help financially, he got you, or he will buy you that car. It ain't 5 of them, it may be just one. And yes, that guy may have bought her a Kia Rio, but he probably gonna work his ass off to buy her a nicer car in a year or two. But a lot of these women don't understand perspective. Don't understand that man is working his butt off to do. He's working his butt off to do that because he values you. And he may not be rich, but he'll save up for it. He'll do his last dime for you. And you ain't gonna find too many men do it. You may find one. He may only find 2. But the smart wants to know, hey, I got a couple of kids. I'm older. This dude may be 5'8" and not 6'3", but hey, he want to be a stepfather of my kids and be there with me. I'm cashing in. Too many of these women think that they still the 22-year-old with no kids and a nice body, but they're 38 with 2 or 3 kids. That you ain't the same person. Just like us men, we realize we aren't the same guys that we were when we were 25. And so what happens is a lot of these people lie to these women because they want to sleep with them. Nobody wants to tell them the truth about, hey, your choices you make at 23 can and will affect you at age 40.
Well, also because that's not what they want to
nice
hear. They don't want to hear that either, because you got to understand, if she was 24, and unfortunately we live in a society that cultivates and encourages females to be devious. Cardi B is sitting there talking about drugging people and everything else. Nicki Minaj, we can go, Amber Rose, we can go down the list. A bunch of females who, because they got ragged out because their hoe ways backfired on them, they've told the younger females that it is to be female is the virtue of being a female is to be devious. The virtue of being a female is being skullduggerous, cutthroat, underhanded. That's what it means to be a female, is to be an untrustworthy, devious, deceptive, deceitful entity. Because these other females are so angry because things didn't go their way that at this point they're willing to do anything. So when that happens, understand she's 24 and devious. By the time she gets 34, she's done. There's no way you can reform somebody who has been devious for over a decade, devious for 15 years, that's their way of getting through life, is to be devious with people. There's no way you can do that. There's a reason why, in the case of a Omarion or whatever, there's a reason why you could never get back together with an April Jones, because she's demonstrated, I'm criminally devious. I'm devious. And I've been doing this so long that that's the only vocabulary I possess to deal with life. There's a reason that you could never deal with a Brittany Renner. There's a reason why you could never deal with that. You could never deal with a Brittany Renner because she's been living life being devious for so long that there's no way in the world that she understands anything else. There isn't anything else that she understands at this point. She doesn't understand it. You can't give her a vocabulary and you can't interest her in valuing that. So what I'm saying is that when a devious female goes off and does that, then what happens? Do you think she gets over that? Do you think she gets to a point where she's not okay with that? Hell no. You're not what she wanted. So any guy after that, just understand she's meeting you with contempt, is what I'm trying to say. When a female has been living devious and has accepted the society's formula for living deviously, then she's meeting you with contempt. And by the way, going back to April Jones here, take a look. When you hop from this many dudes, she went from what? Omarion's bandmate to Dre to Tay Diggs. What does that tell you? That tells you she ain't got no love for nobody. This is a person who has no emotion and no love for anyone. She is out here having straight up survival sex. Let's be very clear. She's having straight up survival sex. Okay, she's a celebrity doing it. Problem, the average black female is doing the same thing. Oh my goodness. Well, I wasn't supposed to say that in front of the whole world. Well, I did. The average black female is out here doing the exact same thing. And there's a damn shame. That's from the celebrities to your local temp worker. You're witnessing the same dynamic. It's a lonely ass Christmas for everybody. Think about that for a few moments. I want you to think about this for a few moments. So Omarion, his bandmate, Dre, Tay Diggs, do you realize how many black men who make well over a couple of $1 million a year she's had between her legs over the last couple of years and haven't been able to hold on to a single one? Think about that statistic for a few moments. The average black female out here would bust her in the back of the head with a Coke bottle. And yet, take a look at how many men of that type of status, income range, looks, everything else. Take a look at how much she's had, and take a look at the fact that they're all like, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yep. You're right. And ladies, if you're with a producer, man or means, your girlfriends want that man because they ain't got it. And they will push you down a flight of stairs to get that man. And that April Jones, think about this. What women don't get is, yeah, Dre may spend a couple of dollars on them, sleep with her, have fun, but that ain't nothing to them. He'll cast her aside and find another one. That's what a lot of these men may do. They may fly you out just to have fun with you for the weekend and send you back to where you were. That's what a lot of these women don't get. Just because a man, it's easy to get a man to lay in your bed. It's a different animal to get a man to invest in you and want to commit to you. And once you get that, you better cash out. Because if you see all these women, your family, your friends, who all they do is go to work and go on trips, they got to pay for themselves. Why do you want that? And because, needless to say, once they get that man, they ain't talking to you. They ain't trying to go on trips. There's a reason you see these girls, they finally get a dude. They be like, I'm good on with him. Men, when we find a woman, we're done. We're good. We're happy. We're chilling. But these women, you say they want to keep going up the floor in the elevator till ain't no more floors left. And then what happens? They want to call you back a couple of months later, a year later, to check in on you, see how you doing. But it's too late. You may sleep with them on GP, but it's too late. You had your chance. And women got to understand when they won. And that's all I have, TBA, man. Thanks for taking my call. Beat one.
The average black male is struggling and the average black female is losing. Brutal, unpleasant realities, to be sure, but the reality's still the same. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. Let me get a call from area code 910. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. This is Tron calling out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Tron out of Greensboro. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man, you're hitting the point right on the head. I see exactly what you're talking about in my family. I got a couple of female cousins who are, they're hitting 40. They were in their little whole phase, got 3 and 4 kids, and they're basically begging for men. I mean, I see the posts on Facebook every day. Them basically saying, "What a real man at? What a man that can take care of me and a man that I can love." And I'm like, yeah, y'all kind of ruined that, years ago when you guys was out here partying like that. And I give them a hard time for it because they're kind of passing that mentality on to the younger kids. And when I come home, I try and give them the real about what's out here. Like, the majority of them, they smoke weed while their kids were young, and now the majority of their kids smoke weed, and they're just following in their footsteps. And it's exactly like you said, whenever they go somewhere, it's always them and their kids. They go to Emerald Point up here in Greensboro, it's always them and their kids, not any men around. But they just don't get it, and I don't know why.
Well, I mean, at this point, there's generations of them. Understand something. The old generations of grandmothers who understood something, those are gone. Now all you've got is 2 generations, 3 generations of bastard baby makers, and the daughters have been weaned on a diet of that. So you don't have a bunch of males who are leadership minded to begin with, and even to the extent that you do, most of the females are not acclimated to accept that. She would rather fail doing it her way than succeed any other. And as a result of that, what you're ending up with is a generation of females now that are so psychologically and emotionally imbalanced that we used to be able to say they were going to end up with other girls, but hell, they're not even able to make that happen, as a matter of fact. That's the real problem. And even if they succeed at it, I'm like, oh hell, that's a hell of a way to go right there. Think about that for a few moments. We used to have females who just got passed around to a bunch of dudes. That's what we used to have. Now think about how hard that is on the female psyche. I want you all to think about this for a moment. Think about how hard that is on the female psyche. It used to be we had a bunch of females who got passed around to a bunch of dudes. Now you got females who are just getting passed around. They're getting passed around to men. They're getting passed around to women. They're getting passed around, period. I want you to consider that for a few moments. And You know, as we all know, I had to sit here and tell you all about the statistics that very clearly point out that 25 to a third of females who've been to college or college age have experienced a same-sex situation. They've had some type of same-sex sexual contact. Now, think about that for a few moments now. Think about that for a few moments. Just let that set in for a moment there. Let that sink in. That before you even met her, if she's the age of 30, she's probably been in some way touched by another female, whether she was experimenting or whatever. Think about that for a few minutes. What the hell are you going to do with her at that point? What are you going to do with that? I'll let you have the last one.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's something else that I see that they post on Facebook. I mean, just for everyone to see. Their kids are on Facebook too, and you see comments. I mean, you see posts like, "Oh, if I don't find a man, then I guess I'm gonna have to try a woman since they ain't working out." And then you will have comments below of other women agreeing, and they're in the same situation they're in. But that's
losers
all
like
say,
losers.
Be one.
Let's be very clear. Losers like losers. The internet, unfortunately, with social media is a gigantic algorithm that brings together like individuals. And the bottom line is, even if you don't know you're a loser, if you are a loser, Mark Zuckerberg's algorithm or Google's algorithm or Instagram's algorithm or Twitter's, Mark Dorsey, well, he's left Twitter again, but Twitter's algorithm, it's going to bring you together with other like-minded losers automatically. And you'll be feeling it's happened organically. No, it hasn't. They're bringing losers together in gigantic flocks and throngs now. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. They're bringing them together in huge, giant groups. They're bringing together in huge, giant throngs and masses, and they have absolutely no perspective and no objective viewpoint on where they are. So think about that for a few moments. We asked the question here tonight, why black women are alone this Christmas. We asked that. Why they're alone this holiday, but we could really just expand that to why they are alone. And when you get down to the bottom of it here, it is because as a group, as I explained here before, as a group, just understand this generational unfitness eventually catches up with you. And now they're unfit for anything else, is a sad commentary. I've opened up the phone lines here. By the way, if there are any ladies who would like to call up and confess and get that off of your chest and say, yeah, you know, Jason, I'm alone this Christmas and I can't stand it. By the way, I've gone ahead and opened up the telephone lines for you here. If there are any women out there listening who want to get that off of your chest and just say it to somebody and just let that go and just admit, hey, I'm alone and I don't like it. You know, this is an opportunity for you to stop faking for a little while. Caller from area code 313. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, man, this is Trey calling out of Arkansas.
Trey out of Arkansas where, sir?
Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas.
All right, Trey out of Bentonville, headquarters and home of Walmart. What's on your mind?
Where do you see black men going in this dating market and the climate with everything that's going on? You mentioned a lot about the women, and we have the privilege of dating some of these women, and just some of the things you're kind of seeing with like Megan Good and how she handled that whole situation kind of makes me look at just the future outlook. Being a young black man myself, a little leery. So where do you see us like navigating that environment, especially if we're in a top tier percentage of like black men?
Okay. Well, let me find out here. What do you consider to be the quote top tier percentage of black men? What do you consider that to be?
Well, I mean, anybody that's doing really well for themselves. Like for me, I'm a category advisor. I'm working for Walmart. 30 years old. Got my own trucking business. I've been just doing everything on a high level for a while. And now that I look at just some of the things that you see in the dating market, it's like, just because we have the same thing or you may have a little less, you think you have the sense of entitlement. And that's not necessarily bringing like the intangible things I think that it would take to maintain a relationship. And when you see somebody like Devon Franklin, who I consider to be, a very high value man as well and very godly, and he goes through the same thing or worse to a degree, it makes me look at just the future outlook for, people who may not even walk that same spiritual path. Like, what would be the point of even participating in something?
Well, let me find out one more thing here. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, you're 31 years old. Let's be very, very clear about a couple of things here, and I want you all to understand there are some distinct similarities that you might not have noticed here, but I want to bring this to your attention to be able to notice that. And you start seeing these things working out the same way. Steph Curry from an allegedly, I won't say fundamentally religious, but definitely that's where he met Aisha Curry, was in those religious circles there from church. Okay, so you got Steph Curry. You got Devin Franklin, another allegedly very religious person here. You got Russell Wilson from yet another allegedly religious family here. Do you start to see a pattern forming?
Oh yeah,
I want y'all to. I want everybody who's listening to me right now. I want you all to understand. Do you see? And I've been talking about this for years before anybody said anything. So it matters where you get your information from, and it matters if it's from a source who's just figuring it out at 50-something years old, or that they've already figured it out. I saw this pattern forming. Everybody was looking at the men, and they should have been looking at the women. Because while you have men who are professional alphas, they do well at their careers, they are emotional betas. And what they've done is they've left themselves vulnerable. These are the productive simps. They've left themselves vulnerable to females who see he is professionally strong, but he is emotionally completely vulnerable and helpless. And that leaves you open to a female who is going to step in and be like, okay, he's not prepared for this. Devin Franklin wasn't ready for this. You could obviously see the flaws in this woman, and yet he let her in anyway. Because you got to understand, hoes can tell when a fella ain't used to anything. I talked to a caller about this a couple of weeks ago here. Understand something. Hoes understand if you're a guy who's not used to nothing. Because what they go looking for, take notes, kitten heels. What they go looking for, take notes, black winosphere. What they look for is a male who does not have a lot of female experience. Notice I didn't say sexual experience, I said female experience. They're looking for a guy who hasn't had a lot of experience with females. And just like a pimp can see that in a chick he wants to turn out, these hoes can see that in a dude that they want to take advantage of. The key thing that they are looking for is your depth of experience with females. Because if you're a guy who's had a lot of experience with a lot of females, you've seen all the tricks. You know the insincere smiles. You know when you're not the kind of guy that this woman gravitates to. You see, if Russell Wilson had half a brain, he would have realized, I'm not the kind of guy that Ciara gravitates to. What the hell is she doing here? I'm not her type. So that tells you he doesn't have a lot of experience with females. Well, it tells you that he doesn't have a lot of experience with females because he didn't even realize, and still doesn't, that he's not her type of guy. You can very clearly see that, but he doesn't understand that because he's got very limited experience. So he's told himself, well, women can change, which is the biggest lie on earth. So he's telling himself that. Now, men who have had more experience, there are dudes a lot younger than him who would not fall for the same thing. But for one reason, they've had a lot more experience with females than he has, even at his age. So it's going to be a lot easier for him to be taken advantage of because of his lack of experience. These females are looking for that. That's why April Jones sat up here and said, well, let me go see if I can throw these legs around Dre. And Dre, maybe there's one more simp move left in him. Maybe there's one more left. And she found out, the bar is closed, is what she found out. So just understand, these are not accidents. It doesn't happen by accident in that way. They know what they're doing. It is up to the men, however, to have themselves tightly cinched, as it were. It's up to the men to be prepared for that. It is up to the men to be self-guarding. A man today cannot afford to be naive. Let me say that again. The reason why video games being buried off in video games and social media and a cell phone and these unreal worlds, the reason why that's dangerous for males today is because a man today cannot afford to be naive. He simply can't afford that. And the females may be buried in Instagram, but they're not buried in Call of Duty and Xbox. So you've got 4 degrees of separation and she's got 2 degrees of separation. But at the end of the day, you're more separated from the real world than she is. A man can't afford to be this naive today. He can't afford to be this out of touch. He can't afford to be this unknowing. He can't afford that. Especially if you're a guy who's got resources, you can't afford to be naive. So the answer to your question is men today cannot afford to move in a naive fashion. We can't afford to move in a naive way. It's very deceptive to tell yourself you can do that, but the reality is we can't afford that.
And see, that's the thing. As I move around, I navigate. I don't even feel like I'm in my prime yet. But as I enter my prime, and I see some of this stuff, especially at this level. Like I'm from Detroit originally, so a lot of stuff you can't really pull past me when it comes to the game. But when you get to this certain tier of women with the corporate and the professionalism and all this, this stuff that we kind of see at this social economic status, it's still all smoke and mirrors with the same hoes, with the same tricks. And after a while, I'm like, what is really worth it? You know what I'm saying? Like, because when you get to that level, you got so much other stuff you're trying to focus on, you're trying to get and trying to obtain.
When you talk about Megan Good here, that the difference is you start to notice similarities. When they start telling you about, you need to wait and it's religious and this, that, and the other, you start noticing similarities in that regard. And one of the similarities that you start to notice is that they get a certain kind of guy who's going to go for that. So you see Megan Good talking about, when I got with Devin Franklin, it was about having no sex. And then you hear the same thing with Ciara. When I got with Russell Wilson, we wasn't having no sex. Now let me get this straight. Future had you flip-flop, stretched out, spread eagle, tattooed, and every damn thing else. You met Russell Wilson and all of a sudden you turned the hoe switch off like that? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
See, but that's the thing. That's the thing. When I see that, I mean, knowing that coming from the game, it's like I damn near don't even want to, I damn near don't even want to mess with it because it's getting to the point now where, as a people, we get in such a cult-like following. It's like,
well, the thing about it, though, is that when these females do that, just understand who that's for, okay? That's not for her. That's not for her. That is for him. This is about regulating the guy. This is about seeing if you can get the guy under control. Just to be very, very clear. When these females talk about, I met this fella and we wasn't having sex and things, just understand she was rationing him. She was trying to drive up the price of her sexuality for him. Not for the dude she been with. She wasn't driving it up for them. She's trying to drive it up specifically for this guy. So just understand when a guy is a target of it, somebody like a Devin Franklin or a Russell Wilson or a Stephen Curry, just understand these females are very slick about that, but they're dealing with a guy that they know is congenitally naive. And in that kind of situation, as I said before, if you want proof why a man today simply cannot afford to be naive, that's why. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 470. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Michael, calling from Atlanta.
Michael from Atlanta. What's on your mind?
Oh, wow. I'm sorry I got on. No, I just came to call because I just learned something where I think 60% of Americans aren't even paying any federal income tax, and how's that going to bear out on the female population, like you're talking here tonight? Seeing how a lot of them don't even have like an actual relationship with a man, let alone a woman. Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting question that you ask here. As nobody told the rest of the guys in the winosphere, but I had to drop it on them here that the UN doing their world survey has found that there are about 60 million more males on the planet now than there are females on the planet. Now, that doesn't get down to specific countries. You're pretty sure that China is skewing a lot of that number to begin with. However, on the planet, you now have more males than you do females. So going forward here, you have an unmotivated group of males. And by the way, if you take a look here on The Business on YouTube, you notice that I put up a chart from the Department of Labor that shows that over the last 40, 50 years, male productivity and enrollment in the workforce has gone down. Female has gone up. At the exact, basically have crossed each other in that way. So you have more unmotivated males working than you ever have. So your protector-provider dynamic has been completely decimated. And more females forced to get out there and hump it on their own than you ever have. Now, what's the effect of this? Well, what you've done is you've doubled the amount of your workforce. You've doubled the amount of your consumer base. If you're part of the capitalist oligarchy, things have never been better because you got all hands on deck going to work and toiling. And they're focusing on enriching you and not focusing on enriching their own lives, because no one's life ever got better from working every day for somebody else's business, except in very, very rare circumstances. So that's the effect that you have. So what you're going to have are, and what have they done? They've told the females that they popularized in media. While ladies, you can do everything the men can do. As a matter of fact, you can do it better. So eventually you're going to have this situation where it crosses over, and they're going to say that, mark my words, by the way, you're going to see the situation cross over where the men are going to be the ones staying home, and the females are going to be the ones told that you're not a real woman unless you're in the workforce. You're not a real woman unless you are at the job. Real women don't take days off. Real women don't do vacation time. Yeah, I know right now they're taking a whole bunch of advantage of maternity leave, but that only matters if you can get babies. And eventually they're going to be telling them, yeah, real women don't do that either. Mark my words, that is what you're going to see occur. If you are not able to reassert masculinity and men leading, what you're going to have is that as these numbers have gone up, as we've steadily seen, the females are making up more of the workforce and being conditioned to believe that it is their job to be more workhorses than the men, then they're going to have to take on all those things the men were doing. And there are two things that men don't do. We don't bear children and we don't take vacation. Now, they're not ready. I'm about to say, now you understand it as a man, yeah, we don't bear children and we don't take days off. But the females, if they wish to take our place, they're going to have to adopt those. You will have to. You cannot supplant us if you don't. So this is a game where the winner loses. That's the problem. This is a game where they're competing to be like us, but even if you win, you lose. So if you want to know where it's going, that's where it's going. So they're very happy to have more of them out there doing that. And it seems on the front end like, oh, don't worry, this will be great. And we're going to be running things and whatnot. And you're getting sucked right into the trick bag. You're getting sucked right into it. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 216. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Mo. I'm calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
Mo from Cleveland. What's on your mind?
So, like you asked for black women who's going to be alone for holidays. I'm one of those women, but I cannot believe I'm calling to thank you for this. But just like a little information, I'm 43 years old. I have a daughter. She's grown. She's away at college, and I've been listening to you for years. And I took your advice, and I went and became like the best side chick I could ever be to a producer, not to like a average dude, to a producer. And it's been great, but he's with somebody else, so I'm gonna be alone today, over the holidays.
It's not your year.
Okay.
Before you even get further along with that, let me just say, this ain't your year. Think of it like custody of the kids. You get them this Christmas, he get them the next Christmas. I'm just going to say it to you straight like that. This is not your Christmas. Next Christmas is your Christmas. This one's not yours. I know it sucks this year.
Okay.
It's gonna suck for her next year, assuming you do the right thing. It's gonna suck for her next year. But it's not your Christmas, it's her Christmas. Next year, if you do things right, it'll be your Christmas.
Okay. Now I do have a question because, like, how the dudes been calling all night, giving you props. Like, you're on point, and I really just want to, like, because the guy that I got with, like, we've been friends for 17, and he's been great. Like, I have no complaints or whatever. But, like, when you say, like, get with the producer because we're at a certain age, like, moving forward, like, what do you do moving forward? You know, like, well, he said I can stay with him and he will, you know, continue to take care of me. But it's just like, what is the vision moving forward? If you're going to be the side chick that you want to be, like, should you let him upgrade you to get somebody better, or do you stay with him?
Okay, here's the first question here. Before you even entertain asking the question about being upgraded, do yourself a favor, to all the ladies listening to me right now. Before you even entertain the question of getting upgraded, do yourselves a favor. Please go and purchase a full-length mirror. Take off all of your clothing and stand in front of it, and then ask yourself, does this motivate a man to upgrade anything?
Okay.
Now, that's the first thing you need to do, because the bottom line is you are investing in his ambitiousness, his resourcefulness, his ingenuity. When a man gets with a woman, all he gets is you. That's all he gets. He doesn't get anything else. He doesn't get your ingenuity. He doesn't get your workhorse. He doesn't get any of that. All a man gets is you. So when you understand that, and everything else is extra. So when you understand that at a base level, let me see what it is that he's getting. First order of business is standing in front of a full-length mirror with nothing on. And then now you've got a baseline for what it is you're offering him. And then you ask yourself, now, if this picture, if I took a photograph of this and this leaked on social media, how motivated would the average guy be to take this that's in my mirror to a higher level? That's a good base. Right. That's a good baseline to start with. That's a good thumbnail sketch that any person can use, and you can very quickly come to a very sensible, rational, realistic answer if you do that exercise. That's very simple. So that would be my first piece of advice to you. If you're already equipped, you will instantaneously know. If you are not already equipped, there is an area of focus.
Okay. But thank you so much.
Oh, wait. Now, the reason why I say that is because, let's be very, very clear. There ain't a side chick in the world who wants to stay in her side chick position, especially if the dude is moving things and making things happen. She's like, okay, especially, I got to talk to the fellas right now. I know I'm supposed to save this for the patron. I know I'm supposed to save this for this, but I can't do it here. Dudes, fellas, let's go ahead and be very, very honest about this. The reason why I don't like the black manosphere, among so many other reasons, is because the reason why so many males today are upset and angry is because they haven't had older guys out here be able to mentor them in the ways of power, wealth, and influence. But most importantly, power. Nothing makes a man feel more helpless than being powerless. Nothing makes him feel more worthless than being powerless. And nothing makes him feel more valuable than being empowered. Don't worry, as long as you got a man to be the side chick too, the dog is not that big of an impediment. But if he doesn't like dog hair, throw the dog in a dumpster. In any case, though, for the fellas listening here, just understand that the real thing about it is, I want you to understand something. What she's saying here, women are motivated, but as a man, you have to motivate them. The woman has to motivate you, but she needs to understand that what motivates you is not what motivates her. You have to motivate her as well. And let me tell you right now, having the capacity to upgrade her is what motivates her. That is what every woman is looking for. That is what will motivate her. And if you are her best option to obtain that, then that is what motivates her. That is what she has to lose. Not your personality, not your quote unquote character, although character is an important thing. Don't get me wrong. But hopefully your character, your personality, those are supposed to be ultimately culminating in some sort of physical, tangible result. If you spent your life with a great personality and great character and nothing tangible ever came of it, then I seriously question your character and your personality. I seriously question them if nothing ever happened. So just understand, a female is motivated if you buy an Escalade for yourself, that motivates a female. That especially when she realizes you have the extra capacity, because what she understands is that you've got the ability to feed the troops. Let me say that again, fellas. I'm laying down some stone cold game for you on this right now. A female is motivated when she realizes that the man that she is with has the ability to feed the troops. That is what creates competition. When she realizes that you've got the ability to feed a squad of troops and you only got one, she's like, oh hell, and he's got the ability to feed a squad. Let me see if he needs a second. All of a sudden, do you notice the guys in that situation never complain about what the females desire, who the females desire? You never hear them complain about, quote, the thugs. You never hear that, because a man who is competitive doesn't have that as his perspective. Yeah, there are things that upset you and there are things that bother you. And of course, there's never enough quality women. There's just no such thing. But by the same token, the fellas who are average and struggling, like the young man who called me in earlier from California, notice his complaints were totally different. And like, well, I'm getting sexual access, but damn, it's the bottom of the barrel. I'm dealing with broads who will cut your throat. Okay, well, yeah, there you are. So just understand, a female who's in a side chick position is always looking to get upgraded. Always. It is her job to convince you that should happen. That's also a good thing, because by the same token, the chick who he's with this Christmas, she needs to know that you're on her bumper. She needs to know that you're in the rear view mirror. And that's what he's doing. He's letting her know, hey, by the way, this your Christmas. I don't know what next Christmas will be. I don't know. It could look this way, then again, it could look another way. To be totally honest. Ladies, do you know where your man...
sound just like him, Jason, too.
Oh, baby, let me tell you. That means he's in his 40s. When we get to this point, y'all used to dealing with the young fellas who ain't got their act together. When the man has his act together, that also means mentally and psychologically. At that point right there, we're like, baby, we ain't scared for you to leave, because we're not dealing with a situation where we're at a disadvantage. We are not dealing with the situation from a position of poverty. There's nothing impoverished over here. So, ladies, I'm going to tell y'all right now, if you don't know where your man is this weekend, you know where your man is this weekend.
Right.
Ladies, if you cannot go walk up to that man's door this weekend and you know he's there, if you can't do that, you know where he is this weekend. If you don't know where he's at this weekend, then y'all know where he's at this weekend. I don't know what to tell you beyond that. So look, your job is to understand where you fall in the hierarchy, and that's it. If you found a producer and if you are unwilling to settle beyond that, I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at you. Just understand there's a different set of rules over here. And if you're going to operate in this structure, okay. If it's more important to you to have a producer, just understand a producer is like women are in that regard. Women always have their feelings, and her feelings may change from one day to the other. Well, guess what? A man is always, if he's not married to that woman, he's always reevaluating her position. He's always reevaluating it. So it'll be up to her to keep it. Now, I'm not here to speak one way or the other. As long as she knows you're there, everything's cool. But just understand, if you want him to upgrade you, all you got is pressure for that. Now, I am going to tell you one thing. You are 43 years old. Now, I don't know how much leverage you believe a 43-year-old has got. All I'm going to say is, if you're 43, baby, you can't have no holes in your game. You can't have any holes in your game. There's no such thing as a 43-year-old who can afford to have holes in their game and then talk about getting upgraded, because there's too many 25-year-olds. You 43, there's too many 23-year-olds out there who would look better in that Lincoln Navigator than you.
Well, yeah, no, and I agree with you. I totally agree with you, and that's why I even agreed to be in this situation, because he came to me with this. We had, like I said, we've been friends like he's been like my best friend. Like if I was in a problem situation, he'd be the first one I call. He came to me.
All y'all fellas,
all y'all
out there. I'm sorry, all y'all ladies out there. If your man tell you he got a female who's just a friend, baby, if you don't stop talking, letting him talk crazy to y'all. This is. I'm on the phone right now with. There was some female out there, might be the one he with tonight, and she let him say, "Well, she just a friend. Don't worry, baby. She just a friend." Okay. If you want to know, yeah, it's bad for women. It's even worse for men. There's no such animal as a female friend. Ain't no such thing.
Yeah. Yes. No, like you're 100% correct, but I'm just trying to like figure out where do I go moving forward, and I'm going to continue listening to you.
First order of business, ma'am. Understand something. That's the only thing you got to negotiate with is you. First order of business is if you have not invested in a full length mirror so that you can evaluate what it is you're doing. That's what you need to be doing. And ladies, if you want to know if it's up to code, I have a very simple validator that will let you know whether or not you're up to code or not. Ladies, has that man purchased you an item that is form-fitting or revealing? If he's done that, then you're up to code. Now, I didn't say you requested it. I didn't say you asked it. If you just showed up and there's a box from Amazon, Nordstrom's, Macy's, whatever, if it got a swimsuit in it and stuff, it's like, okay, whatever he sees, he likes. And he's cool with it. Whatever it is, he's all right with that. If that's not happening, it is time for us to have a reformation. So that's the investment you put in yourself. You might be able to work and get your job to double what they do for you. A smart woman gets the man to do that for her instead. And there's the crazy part about it, that if you really want to know what it is that is really pathetic in this day and age with females here, a female can get 2 or 3 times the benefit out of a man simply for her not being sloppy looking. A man's got to be in shape, mentally astute, hardworking, productive, double his income. We got to go do all that. All the females have to do is not be sloppy. That the bar is really that low, and yet they losing, which is just unconscionable. But if you really want to know whether it's up to code, that's a very good indicator. If that's not happening, you ain't up to code. I would suggest you kick it into gear, because here's the real thing. While you worrying about getting upgraded, baby, you better be worried about the next one, because just like he came to you, he's talking to other females. I didn't say he wants to. He's talking to other females. He came and talked to you. He is actively talking to others. And just like he found you to be the potential replacement for the chick he's with, he's evaluating your potential replacements as we speak. It is your job to beat out the competition, and there is only one way to beat out the competition. A man has to feel like he ain't losing nothing. There are other females out there, but your job is to convince him he ain't losing nothing. He ain't missing nothing out there. That's your job. As long as he is convinced I ain't missing nothing, then your position is secure as it can be. If he feels he's missing something, then your days are numbered.
Got you. I got you.
I would like to hear how things go in 6 months.
In 6 months?
Yeah, I can't wait till you're 44. I want to hear what's going on at 44. That's the one. Because if you still rocking with him at 44, I'm like, oh hell, you might be home free. I don't know. How old is he?
He is
Say it.
9 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
And our birthday's on the same day.
All right.
Yeah, our birthday's on the same day.
Baby,
so,
if you can get him over the age of 55, you might be home free. If you can get him over the age of 55, and if you can drive a wedge between him and old girl, you might be home free. So this next Christmas might be your year.
I would definitely call you in 6 months and let you know.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us a call. I'd like to hear how that goes there. In the chat room, they're talking about dirty side chicks. All the side chicks are dirty. First of all, let me praise you that. If you have any idea that there are females who are not dirty, that's naivete talking. There are no good girls. The side chicks are dirty. Dude, they was dirty before they became side chicks. What are you talking about? I have yet to meet a female who doesn't have side chick potential. Give her a guy who is productive enough and the bar isn't that high. As long as he is the best she's ever done and he outdoes everybody, that's it. What are you talking about? Got a lot of fellas here, you got to update their files about that. But please, dirty side chicks, they came to the game dirty. Caller from area code 561, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chance from Loxahatchee, Florida, by way of soon to be in Atlanta, Georgia.
Chance from Loxahatchee, what's on your mind?
I have a question. Come again?
Yes, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a question. Nowhere near that status yet, but I'm working on it. But what if you don't want multiple women? What if you just want one when you become that high value producer?
Okay.
Like, how do you handle multiple females approaching you?
I mean, the real thing is your job is to choose who is the best one. So if you are not capable or willing to exercise your judgment in that regard, that's the problem. So, I mean, the only thing I try to do with you all here, and the reason why I mentor you and teach you these things, is because I simply want you to not be handicapped or shackled by lack of options. I want you to have the options. I want you to have all the options you want and then have the freedom and the latitude to be able to choose from those options. That's all I'm trying to do with you. That's it. What you do with it from there is up to you. If you would like to have one female, my suggestion is that she be top of the line and fit for everything else. But by the same token, if you choose to do something else, well, that would be another matter. The real thing is whether or not you're in a position to handle it, because you got a bunch of dudes out here, they want to have a bunch of females. Here's the real problem. My standard is, and this is the real standard, these dudes talk about polygamy, but the real thing is in the places where quote unquote polygamy is practiced outside of America, you can't have a bunch of wives if you can't upgrade all of them. Let me say that again.
And another thing,
you can't have multiple wives in these other countries where these guys talk about this stuff. You can't do that unless you have the capacity to upgrade all of them. You can't have one who's upgraded and the rest of them is struggling. That's not the way it works. So these guys sitting up here talking about having multiple bed buddies, that's a different matter. Now, if you want to do that too, if you have the option of doing so, if you wish to do that. But if you're talking about having quality females with you, my job is simply to get you into a position where you have the option of it. What you do from there is up to you. But here's the real problem, Chance. If Chance doesn't have a standard, if Chance doesn't have criteria for the females around him, which I tell you all having an agenda, if Chance doesn't have that, that's not something I can give Chance. Chance has to be the one who says, here's the criterion, here's the standards, here's what she's got to do, here's what she's got to have, because those are a result of what you're doing. Take a look at what you're doing in your life, and then you have to be able to see, okay, here's how she plugs into that. If Chance doesn't know and can't tell us, there's nothing, I can't help him with that. So you got to have the agenda. I help you get your game tightened up so that you have options that can plug into your agenda. But you got to have the agenda first.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, you definitely need to have that together. That is the important part. Other folk can't give that to you. You got to have that. Let me find out here. Caller from 856 now. You said you wanted to talk to me again here. What exactly did you want to speak? Well, I was talking to the chick about being a side chick, and all of a sudden you wanted to call back in. So what did you miss?
No. I just had a general question because I was, I forget who it was that was speaking. And, the lady who just called in talking about the situation with her and the man.
Yes, exactly. That's why I said I talked to the chick about the side chicks, and you wanted to call back in. Okay. I can see where this is going. All right, what's on your mind?
No. I asked a male friend of mine, he's 49, about this, him and his wife celebrated the 25-year anniversary. No. It's not like that at all. I had asked him,
it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
No.
Go ahead.
No, But let me tell you though, Jason, with all due respect, I turned 26 in October, right? And back when I was pregnant with our son, we had some, unruly neighbors who would, try to speak to me, try to talk to my husband, but they were really trying to get to me. This is where we used to live at. And one person, just in passing, he was like, do you think you'd ever cheat on your husband? I said, no, not at all. He said, well, do you ever think he would cheat on you? I said, I don't believe at all. I said, my husband is happy. And honestly, I would like to think he's mature enough to where if he's not happy, he would just go. Now, I get that that's a theoretical, hypothetical, moralistic thing for someone to do. And I'm not saying that my marriage is in a bad spot. We're in a wonderful spot. But I've always wanted to ask somebody who would be honest, can a happy man still turn around and cheat? Because I've heard that a few times from a few people that I know.
This
and I'm
is
just
called,
like, there's no way.
This is called denial. As I said, she called in for exactly what I said she was calling. No, it ain't like that. Yes, it's exactly like that. Yes, it is. No, it ain't, Jason.
No, not
yes,
on my
it is.
part. No,
oh,
not
yes,
on
it
his
is.
part.
It's exactly.
No.
Okay, look, let's make a. Well, okay, you asked a question. Let's make a few things straight here, okay? What a female should value in a relationship is not the same as what a man should value. So this idea that what a man should expect and what a female should expect are interchangeable is a big damn lie. And before the sexual revolution, we had a very clear grasp of that. Today it's become very clouded, very muddled, and females have no idea what it is they should expect. First and foremost, if you have a man who is a producer, you are supposed to expect priority. That was what your grandmothers understood. That was what your great-grandmothers understood. They understood, I have no control of what that man does if he goes out the door. And I have no way of forcing anything except one obligation. That we have agreed that I get priority. That is what that means. That I'm never going to be left high and dry. That's what it means. To be your wife, to be your woman means that that's not something I worry about. That's why we have life insurance policies where you specifically name a beneficiary. But let me tell you something else. It's good to have a life insurance policy that only works till when the nigga dies. As long as you're alive, who's taking care of things now? But let's be very, very clear. The most important thing to people is not money, power, or fame. It is status. And when you are with a man who is a producer, priority also means that you are the one whose status he raises. That is what you're looking for. So the first question you have to ask is, okay, am I the one whose status is being raised? I'm thinking about the case of Kevin Hart. And, Kevin Hart got struck by what happened when he was running around on his woman. And, he had said that she got his attention. She could have yelled at him. She could have screamed at him. She could have, sat up here and denigrated him. She could have divorced him. He said that she said, Kevin, how could you do this to us?
Right.
She didn't say, how could you do this to me? She said, how could you do this to us? And what she was saying to him was, dude, you're endangering everything we have. This is not about me. This is about, you're endangering what we have. Is what you were doing, you were so sloppy with it, so blatant with it. You just done got so damn out of pocket that you become reckless. So now, evaluating you as a man, I now see you as a reckless man. So how you do one thing is how you do all things. And if you reach the point where your insecurities have transformed you into a reckless person, we're off to the races. And it's only a matter of time before you lose everything. Because how you do one thing is how you do all things. Well, that was a wake-up call to him. She's like, she was saying, that tells you he's got a great woman, because she said it in terms that a man would understand. Oh, in terms that a man can wrap his head around, which is, well, she's saying I'm off my damn game. It is not so much you're with the other woman. It's that if the world found out about this like this, nigga, you're too damn blatant. How is it you're on your game about all the rest of this and the damn world knows your business? That's not the way a competent man behaves. I'm with you because you're supposed to be a competent man. Well, that's not the way a competent man behaves. So there's the real reason with your side chicks knowing your damn address, knowing where your wife sleeps, knowing where your wife shops, knowing where your wife stays. That's the problem with your other females knowing that. The other females are supposed to be somewhere else. We've entered a day and age where grown men act like damn children. You see, your grandfathers understood that too. Your grandfathers understood you don't bring her around anywhere. You don't do that.
Right.
The wife, the woman who's going to carry your legacy, she over here. And if you just got to have something else, she's out there somewhere. But she doesn't have the ability to intrude on where you are. That was the difference. So first and foremost, your wife understood she gets priority. She understood that is the commitment he's made to her, is that she gets priority. That is why that's why the first thing I try to tell these fellows here is get your weight up. Not so you can get females. Get your weight up so that you're always able to deal with everything from a position of strength. Stop trying to rely. Too many of these fellows have been raised by single mothers, so they deal with the world from a single mother perspective, a female perspective, that a female is supposed to value you based on intangibles. When I have grown males telling me about their personalities and their character, I'm like, no, a man gets valued for what he can produce. That is the definition of being a man, is what you produce. These fellows want to decouple those things. Yeah, because you understand that you ain't produced nothing. So it makes them feel that way.
Can I add to that, if you don't mind? Because it's so funny that you say that, because my husband, I don't know what made him say this a few weeks ago. He was like, I don't know, we were talking about something, and he was like, a man is not loved based on, who he is, or what else he said, how he dresses. He said, a man is loved based on what he can provide. He's like, the only things in this world who get unconditional love to a point are women, children, and animals. And, the only reason why I asked that question is because I know that you're the only person who has the experience to answer honestly and who's going to answer from an unbiased position, because you ask certain people, they give you a loaded answer. And I just always wondered certain things. So I'm really grateful to be able to connect with someone like yourself who can answer honestly in an unbiased way.
Well, that's why I tell the guys here, when we talk about being the table, kitten heels, pay attention while you screwing up in real time, screwing up what I said. A female is not the table, you jackass. In any case, the reason why a man is the table, just understand something. There's a reason why I tell the guys, get your weight up to a degree here. Get the capacity to be able to do those things. If you got a car for yourself, have the capacity to get one for your female. You know why? Because now you've raised her status. And then if you have the ability to raise her status, you have the ability to take that damn thing. And the average male feels completely weak, powerless, and helpless because the females that he's with, he sees no pathway and no means for him to raise their status. And as a result, the females treat him as if he is expendable. And there is nothing more emasculating to a male than to be treated as if he is expendable, which is why females understand something. The dumbest thing you can do is try to treat a producer like he's expendable. That is a mortal insult that you will not outgrow. Your job is to tread carefully in that regard. You don't ever treat a producer like he is expendable. Just like if you are a man's woman, you expect him to understand that you have a different place from anybody he's ever dealt with or anyone he might be dealing with that you're not aware of and shouldn't be aware of. By the same token, you're supposed to make sure that he understands that he has a position that is different from anybody else. When you start treating your producer the way you do your baby daddies and the deadbeats and the clowns you've been dealing with, at that point right now, you're mortally offending him, and that will eventually catch up. So, fellas, the reason why you get your weight up is so that you can be in a position to raise a woman's status, because that is the only thing that makes you valuable. Don't listen to your hotep hobos and hobosexuals out here telling you that there's something else that makes you valuable. The only thing that makes you valuable is your ability to produce. So when a woman comes up and she sees your money is straight, your status is straight, your job situation is straight, your assets are straight, you've got excess capacity, then that automatically communicates to her that you are the table. Let me say that again. Those are things that are nonverbal. You are the table. But that is why you are the table. You're the table because these are things that she doesn't have to question about. She can see them. These are things that she doesn't have to wonder about. Okay, well, with these other guys, she got to wonder if it's there and is it real and I don't know. And then there's other folks disputing it. When you are undisputed, then you don't have to argue. What she's going to try to figure out is how she can, now she's going to switch to a different gear, which is how do I ingratiate myself to him so I can maximize my benefits. But she's not questioning any of those things. And I want guys to get into a position where you act like men. Men don't have to be questioned because our accomplishments speak for themselves. And that doesn't mean that she has free reign of your bank account or free reign of your finances. Your situation should be stable enough that it's self-evident. You see, there is a reason why, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it, damn it. There is a reason why the type of car that a guy drives communicates something. You damn right, it sure does. It communicates if he's smart. It also will you stop. Hold your questions until after class. I'm hosting my program. There is a reason why the car that a man drives matters. It communicates to people if he is wise. It also communicates to people if he is a fool. Because if the rest of his life doesn't match his car, if the rest of his life doesn't match his jewelry, if the rest of his life doesn't match how he presents himself, people can weigh those things. But if those all match up and they all balance out, then a woman knows what she's dealing with. But you should have something. I said before, there should be something that you are able to tangibly present to people. And when they show it, when they meet you, they should be able to see that. Let me give you all an example. It doesn't matter what the guy dresses like. It doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what he sounds like. When he walks up to the front desk of the hotel there and he pulls out an American Express Gold card, think about that for a few moments. It doesn't matter how he's dressed. It doesn't matter whether he's wearing an Armani suit or whether he's wearing a painter's uniform. If he walks up to the front desk and he pulls out an American Express Gold card, or an American Express Black card, do you realize that card represents validation from an impartial third-party source of his accomplishments? Without him ever saying a word to you, without him saying one more syllable or explaining anything else. He didn't show you his bank account. He didn't show you his car. He did not show you his portfolio of assets. He didn't introduce you to his CPA. All you saw was that one thing. And that one tangible thing communicated everything else to you. You didn't see the car he drove. You didn't see anything else. You just saw that one thing. I'm giving you all an example that when you have your act together as a man, there should be something tangible that people can see that communicates that. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be all the same thing, but there should be something. And if there is nothing, you're probably a guy trying to pull a scam. And there are a bunch of black males. Now, I understand we live in a system of white supremacy and the deck is rigged against us, and I get that. I inhabit the exact same system. A woman wants to see if you've got answers to that system. That system is a problem. A woman wants to see if you're a man who can solve problems, because that's what she's going to be trusting in. And if it turns out that she is unworthy of it, here's the real problem. Most of you fellas here are struggling so badly, you got to keep around women who are disciplinary problems because you can't replace them even when they're unworthy. That's the real thing I want you to understand. When a female demonstrates she's unworthy, you should have the ability to replace that. That's a problem. But you can't do that if you're struggling. Beggars can't be choosers. Beggars have to sit there and put up with it. And even if you get rid of this problem, all you can really do is go recruit another problem. But you can never exit the realm of problems. You can just replace this problem female with another problem female just like her. Because that's the level that you're operating at. Get to a point where you have the option of opting out of that. But a man who's not the table can't do that. So just understand. And by the way, I'm probably going to, now that I'm thinking about it here, I'm probably going to do a program here on Patreon about being the table. Kitten Heels is writing it down right now. I can see, ooh, that's good right there, the table. Okay. I can see her right now. Kitten Heels is sitting over there typing away. Jason, can you slow down a little bit? I can't spell that. Okay. All right. But yeah, I need to do a program here about being the table and exactly what that means. So Kitten Hill Samuels can go ahead and start rewriting that too. plagiarizing, nigga. In any case, the bottom line is, like I say, just understand that your job is to have priority. And when you as a woman are focused on that, that is the part you can control. But furthermore, that is the part that gives you value. Where women get wrong, as I talked to a female the other day on Patreon about, is when she starts worrying about things that are not in her jurisdiction. Now, that's where they get into trouble. When a female tries to control a man, the surest way to make sure a man's not going to stick around you is to start trying to control him.
60.
That's where you're really going to get yourself into trouble, is when you start trying to control him. Because it's not your job to control him. It is your job to be his companion. That's your job. That's what makes you valuable to him. That is what makes him start putting your name on things. That is what makes him start investing in you. There's a whole bunch of women out here, they have a ring. And let me tell you something right now. You know what? The only thing that's more important than a ring? A key fob. Oh, hell, did I say that? You damn right I said that. You know what's more important than having a ring, sense. Ladies? A key fob. You know what's more important than having a wedding band? A title. Car title, home title, you choose the title. But that's more important than that. Because you see, there's a whole bunch of females out there, and they might have been able to get across the finish line to have a ring somewhere, and then the man didn't produce anything. Whole bunch of them out there like that. Whole bunch of them out there like that. Let me tell you right now, it's impossible to enter into your femininity under those circumstances. In case nobody ever sat up here and explained it to you. You want to know what's more important than a ring? A key fob. You got a ring and can't get to work today. You have a ring or you're at work and can't get to your kids. You have a ring, and if you can't go on vacation, you're driving your same old Nissan Altima. Do you have a man who is able to put a key fob in your hands that raises your status? Because let me tell you something right now. A ring says that you two are married. A Mercedes S-Class says you are his woman. Mm-hmm. Do you understand that? A Mercedes S-Class says he is invested in you. That's what that says. I want you to understand what your mothers and your grandmothers understood. There was a reason why Cadillac was always a status symbol for your grandmama. She was driving that big, long Fleetwood. Understand that your grandmothers understood this. The young women of the day are completely clueless. Your grandmothers understood this. Your grandmother understood if she was pushing that big ass long Lincoln Town car, she understood that. She understood driving that land yacht because they made it very clear, oh, he's got to be invested in you. Yeah, the wedding ring is nice, but the wedding ring without the accomplishment, let's try to flip this a different way. Let's flip this a different way. Ladies, if you like it or not, let's flip this a different way. Let's just say you have a man and you are married to him. Y'all been married for 20 years. You have a wedding band. He bought the other chick a Range Rover. How you feel? You're his wife. He got you a wedding band. You are driving a Kia Optima. He bought his side chick a Range Rover. He's never going to marry her. Ever. How you feel? Tell me, you're a married woman. How would you feel under those circumstances? Okay, have you gotten lost? Okay, I think my caller has gotten kidnapped. Either that or she's over there rubbing herself. Are you okay?
No. I'm fine. I'm listening to you because I mean,
okay,
you said to
I'm
hold
talking.
my question till the end.
I'm talking to you. You are a married woman. You tell me if your husband, if you found out that you are driving your Kia Optima to work and you are married, you have a wedding ring, and your husband bought his side chick a Range Rover. How would you still say, you know what, but I'm the one with the wedding ring? Is that what you would say? Honestly, tell me, how would you respond to that circumstance?
Not at all. That would be an immediate problem.
Now, I want you all to think about that for a few moments because you all have been given outrageously skewed and screwed up ways of seeing the world. I see things from the view of power dynamics. And as a female, you should understand the difference between symbolism and substance. a wedding ring is nice. A wedding ring symbolizes something. A wedding ring is very important. Do not get me wrong. I also believe a wedding ring is almost as important as a title. I believe a wedding ring is almost as important as a key fob. A wedding ring without productivity is worthless. And there's a whole bunch of females out here right now married to bums and losers. Well, she's a wife. All right. You're a wife to a loser. You're a wife to a bum. You're a wife to a guy who will never upgrade your status because he's not driven to do so. You're a wife to a guy who doesn't want to chip his nails. You're a wife to a guy who doesn't get up in the morning and say to himself, okay, well, she's driving right now. I got a plan to go ahead and swap that out. There's nothing worse than having an ungrateful female who doesn't understand the value of these things. All that really does is motivate a man to produce elsewhere, because understand he's going to produce. Whether or not he's going to produce for you or not is a different matter. So your job is to inspire him and motivate him to make you his priority. Now, that's not something he can do. That's what you bring to the table. He sacrifices to build those things. You sacrifice to show him that you have faith in him as a producer if he's demonstrated that's what he is. That's your role. But don't get it confused that this is Game of Thrones, because that's not what it is. Your job is to demonstrate that you are his best option. And what makes you his best option is not what makes him your best option. Those are two separate things. So first and foremost here, your grandmothers and your mothers understood that. They understood being the priority and what that meant. They understood that. They understood not being a badger or a bother. They understood not being ungrateful or showing ingratitude. They understood what it meant to keep doing that. And the younger females have been raised to be entitled and whiny and moany. And all they really do is, if they do ever find a producer, all they really end up doing is running him the hell off. That's all they really wind up doing. I try to tell you, okay, if you do get yourself in that position, understand what motivates him. If he's demonstrated that's who he is, all right, all you got to do is not fumble the ball. But are you focused on being the priority? Are you focused on that? Are you focused on whatever's going on here? And number one thing is he going to be here tomorrow? Because at some point, he's probably going to have to make a choice between you and whoever else. Okay, your job is to be sure that, okay, I know for a fact where he's going to be. He knows I might not be completely thrilled with him when he gets here, but I know where he's going to be. Because I haven't done anything to screw that up. I know what makes him tick, and I am a benefit and I'm an enhancement to that. I'm not an obstacle. Now, if you can say that with confidence, then you don't have anything to worry about. The things that are under your control, you have taken care of. Anything that is outside of that, the things that are outside of your control, they won't be able to harm you anyway. Now, that's the position you want to be in. Just like as with a man, the things that are within our control, we handle that. The things that are outside of our control, is it going to kill me or permanently disable me? No? Okay, then whatever it is, I can handle it. And that's where you deal with things from. So when it comes to that situation there where your man, if you're worried about your man and other women in any regard, that wouldn't be your biggest issue. A man who is a producer is concerned about his legacy. He is concerned about his peace of mind. Now, I'm not saying all these things in their order, because peace of mind comes first and foremost. He's worried about his peace of mind. He's worried about his legacy. And he is worried about whether or not you are his best option for those two things. That's going to determine everything else.
Yes. And to be honest with you, you broke that down so wow. I mean, I don't have anything to add to that other than, thank you. And yes, I can certainly say that with confidence for sure. And like I said earlier, I'm very fortunate because despite the fact that my mother, was with someone, it's tricky. Like, I guess you could say in some ways my father was a producer, but that should have been expected because of the 35-year age gap. So,
well, she was smart. I mean, but that was smart. I mean, here's the real. Okay, well, that not in a way. I mean, the real thing was, even if she may have been unworthy of him, my real thing is she chose wisely. Now, him on the other hand may be a different matter. But the bottom line is, look, I can't really blame a female for making the best deal she can for herself. I can't blame her for that.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, even if it's self-serving, well, you know, I've had to teach Rollo Tomasi and other people here recently that actually all relationships are transactional. When he talks about transactional sex versus validational sex, everything is transactional. He didn't know that until I said it. Now he's starting to change it, by the way. But in any case, you know, I can't really blame her for that. And if dude is willing to be her productive simp, okay, fine. There are some lessons to be learned from that. Where you are concerned at, where your man is concerned, just understand at this point right now, I mean, it's your ball to fumble is the real thing to understand. It's your ball to fumble. I think a lot of females would be a lot better off being more focused on what they're getting, because here's the real thing. We've created a society where females have the time to sit around and worry about those things. That's the crazy part. It used to be your mama had so many kids, she had so many responsibilities, she didn't have time to worry about that. Now we create a situation where chicks can sit around and watch TikTok and Instagram all day, and rather than focus on being the best woman for their man they can focus on all being a nag and being a bother and being gossipy and gossip girls and badgering him and bothering him and inhibiting his ability to produce. It used to be you couldn't afford to do that. Now they've got the leeway to do it. So there's where we're really messed up at. Your grandmothers and your great-grandmothers simply didn't have the time or the ability to do it. Y'all got the ability to do it because we've got created such a pampered society that things that females used to just not even have the ability to do, now they've got constant ability to do, to the point they can keep, basically the cell phone is like a damn dog leash around the man's neck. So that's where we're at right now. So the real thing is, your grandmother was really worried about, is he coming home tonight? Your great-grandmother was worried about, is he coming home tonight? Because they lived in a time where if that man didn't come home, she was on her damn own. Let me go ahead and remind you all real quick here. Sit back and soak it up for a moment here. Your great-grandmothers, they didn't have all this court stuff with alimony and things where systems could track the man and stuff like that. They didn't have that. If that nigga got up and left town, she was ass out. There's a reason why we had shotgun weddings, because if this guy got her pregnant and decided to leave, there was no way you could find him. He was just gone. So you see, her list of requirements was real damn basic. Are you coming home tonight? Because I got 6 of your kids. So life was really, really simple and was very, very well understood. And as long as he was committed, notice I didn't say obligated, as long as he was committed to that, then that was all she really asked for. And things worked. They worked extremely well. It still does today under the right circumstances.
You're right. You know, the only reason why I say that my mom kind of was wise about how she handled it with my father is because, unfortunately, my mom decided to get caught up in the feelings of another man. So she had 3 men in rotation. Let me just cut to the point. She had someone the same age as her who was 27, then my father who was 57, and then another man older than him who was like 75, Mr. Andy. And my mom, being the fool that she was, and I'm sorry if this hurts feelings, but a responsible man leaves a legacy behind for his children or his child, regardless of the circumstance, in my opinion. She allowed this other man to sign the birth certificate, and my father did not press the issue, and she didn't make him sign it. So in that regard, I feel as if there were some things that could have been allotted to my children that we are going to miss out on. Am I crying about it? No, because my husband and I are building. But at the same time, it's really unfortunate because that's a foolish decision that you didn't have to make, especially since your mother was someone who was a numbers runner and who owned her own business. So I feel like from that legacy being led, you know, you have a grandmother of my mother who was a landowner who didn't take no mess, who died at 94 and died proud. And then you had my grandmother, who's my mom's mother, who was a numbers runner and a business owner. I just feel like with that type of legacy of women, she should have known better.
Well, I mean, definitely, you got a lot of these grimy grannies out here. I just got to say it like this. You got a lot of these grimy grannies out here from the World War II generation and the baby boomer generation. I mean, there was a whole bunch of grimy grandmas out here. And in the system of white supremacy, it cultivates that kind of thing. So some of them were able to maintain their human decency, and some of them completely shed themselves of it. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, that bled down to their daughters and granddaughters and great-granddaughters. And hopefully, you have the presence of mind and of heart to be able to resist that kind of thing. But be that as it may, at a certain point, you're going to have to make do where you are, and just understand that some people teach you some people teach you how to be, and some people teach you what not to be.
Yes.
And that's a part of life as well. Life is not always about everybody being, when you were a little child, you had this fantasy of everybody's nice and kind, and that's what cartoons show you, and even strangers are smiling at you and stuff. In the real world, you got strangers who will take you off and kill you. That's what happens in the real world. Well, the same thing with other people here. And there are a lot of monsters in this world. You might be related to a couple of them. Let me say that again for everybody to understand. There's a lot of monsters in this world, and you might be related to a couple of them. That might be a shocking thing for you to accept, but you might be related to a couple of the monsters in this world. Understanding that will help give you a better perspective on how to be a better person for yourself, and to understand that these people may not be qualified to teach you anything except what not to be. And quite frankly, I don't know if you would even benefit from getting anything from her. I don't even know if I would even have wanted that to be the situation, because would you even want to be in a situation where she's talking about you wouldn't have XYZ if it wasn't for me? I don't even know if you even want to be in that position, because there is a benefit in this world to being able to tell somebody to kiss your ass. There's a benefit in this world to being able to tell somebody, you know what, nigga, you can ride on the horse you came in on. I don't need a damn thing. I didn't need a damn thing from you. There's a certain freedom that comes from being able to do that. Because we talk about with your jobs and whatnot. People don't think about that with their families are concerned, of having the ability to be able to say that. To be able to say, you know what, I got this thing going just fine without you. There's something to be said for that as well. Now, you don't want to be an ego-driven narcissist where you're counterproductive to yourself and willing to chop off your head despite your face. But by the same token, you need to recognize when the person doesn't really have anything to offer you. It's great if somebody gives you something extra. It's another thing if they were withholding something that was essential. So you have to be able to distinguish between that which is essential and that which is extra. And it sounds like that would have been a nice little extra, but it also sounds like you would have been okay with or without it. With that being what it is between you and your husband, or any others for that matter there, the most important thing that a female can have is a man who gets up every day, and his primary objective, his primary purpose, the thing that drives him every day, with or without your presence. Now, this is the key part. This is what women are out here fighting and scrapping and cutting each other's faces with razor blades at dance clubs over. Having a man who is driven to get up every day and produce at a high level with or without you. And it doesn't matter whether he's a rapper, a ball player, a drug dealer, a politician, a nuclear physicist, an entrepreneur, a street sweeper. Every woman is fighting and vying for that guy who is going to excel and get up and do it every day at a high level, no matter what is going on. That's what they're fighting for. Your job is to find that guy, because that is the guy who's going to make sure that all of your basic needs are met and most of your extra needs are met, including raising your status. Because understand, a man has to be driven to do that. That's not something that's just basic. He's got to be driven to do that. That's a whole lot of extra work. He has to gain excess capacity. There's going to be something that has to drive him to overlook the obstacles he meets in the day and to overcome those and to suffer all the stresses he's going to have to go through and to keep pushing at that. He's going to have to something mighty damn powerful pushing him to do that. And remember, the only reward he has is you. So if you are not what's driving him to do that, then there's no reason for him to do it not for you. Your job is to make sure you're the force that drives that. But you better be very damn rewarding. And from there, he will come home to you every night. And whatever he has built is going to stay with you because he's demonstrated that he is emotionally invested in you because you have proven worthy of his sacrifices and you are his best option. From there, the only thing you could really do is fumble the ball. But guess what? There's a lot of females who do that today too.
That's sad. That's really sad because, everything that you just said, the whole entire dialogue, on point, very true, dropping gems, but everything that you just said in these past 3 to 5 minutes is exactly what he is and what he does. I don't have to worry about him not coming home. I don't have to worry about him and other women. Like, everything that he does, you're about to make me cry, but everything that he does, is for our family. Like, he, against my own wishes, and as silly as it may sound to some people, because I was totally fine driving my, 1996 Jeep, it's as old as I am, for my business. I was totally fine doing it. He turned around, bought me a brand new SUV. Didn't have to do it. I cried because I was extremely grateful, and I, do everything I can to be a 5-star wife, 10-star wife, whatever you want to call it, and mother to show my gratitude every day. And this was before all of that. He's always been a phenomenal man without me having to ask, without me having to demand. I've always given him the respect that he is due. When he says that he doesn't want something or does want something, I listen, I shut my mouth, and I respect that because a lot of women, in my opinion, and I don't know everything, but at 26, I've been able to realize that a lot of women don't have a good man like that because they're not willing to shut their mouth and listen. And then sometimes on the flip side, they follow fools instead of following leaders. And that's how they end up in vicarious positions that they don't want to be in. You're following the wrong kind of person, or you weren't equipped to be able to actually give a producer what he needed and what he expected from a woman. So therefore, you're left with nothing. And I'll be damned if I end up in a position like that. No.
Well, a man is looking for a woman who is worthy of his sacrifices. And, they're unfortunately, the more valuable the guy is, the more valuable the female needs to be in that regard. So if you're fortunate enough to meet that criterion, then that'll be great. And now about the car situation there, that's something else I want to talk about there in particular. I don't talk about myself very much. I don't like to do that. But I would like to address one thing. I've talked about this years and years and years ago. I was a young man, and as a young man, I worked for a number of people who had a lot more money than I did. And I had a female at the time. And that female was, she was a nice girl, don't get me wrong and everything. But of course, I was trying to build things. Now, this was decades ago, by the way. This was not years ago, but decades ago. But it's all right. It is what it is. So be that as it may, it was one of these situations here where, I was like, she was being nice. She was being nice. And I had an opportunity. I picked her up in a Ford Taurus, I think it was. And I was talking about how one of the folk who I was working for at the time, they had bought, a brand new luxury car. I want to say it was a Continental. And I told her, one of these days, I want to get something like that. I said, it's really, really nice. They had me driving it around and everything, and it was really, really nice. And she was like, Jason, a car is a car. They all got 4 wheels and a steering wheel. That was what she said. Well, It just so happens that she needed to go to work one day, and I told her I would pick her up for lunch. I might have sort of maybe borrowed the car from the folks I was working for, maybe. They're nice, shiny, spanking brand new Lincoln Continental. I might have sort of borrowed it and went to go pick her up for lunch. She didn't even recognize it when I showed up in this thing. She didn't even recognize me. I was like, I'm out front. And she's like, where? I said, the Lincoln you see out front. She comes down like, oh my God, where did you get this? I said, this is their car. And she was dumbstruck when she got in it. Very nice. They had done a redesign on it at Ford and everything. Panoramic roof, sunroof and all that stuff. Surround sound system back when those things were new. And I said to her, it was all leather seats, by the way. We made those white folk a bunch of money back then, which is why I make myself more money now. All nice leather seats, wood grain interior, all this stuff. So it was really, really good. And I said to her, do you still think a car is just a car now? And she said, no. Now, I was driven to do better for myself at a young age and a young point. But let's be very, very clear. Those folk were elderly by the time they had done that. I had surpassed them within a decade. And then I went off and screwed up and lost it. But in any case, which I would do 2 more times before I figured out how to retain things. But what I'm saying is, it's very good when you have a female who appreciates things. Now, that's the benefit, I guess, he has of having you, is you appreciate those things. There's nothing worse than a female who feels entitled and who keeps telling a man that what his best isn't good enough, and she just keeps wanting more. She doubts the plan. She doubts everything. That kills a man's motivation to do for her. You don't want a man who is doing for you from an area of contempt or resentment. You want him to do it for you from a level of drive. That's what you want. You want to be something that drives him, not something that drives him crazy or drives him to not want to produce. You want to be that which drives him. And because then he has the ability to upgrade you in that way. And that's good. So the real point about him getting you a newer car and stuff like that is the fact that you appreciate that. But there are a lot of females who are never going to experience that. Because it's very, very nice if you can, quote, buy yourself one. But buying yourself one does not raise your status. What raises your status is a man who is dedicated to you to the point that he does that for you. Now that's what raises your status. As a woman, that's what raises your status.
Absolutely.
So to have somebody who he gets up every day and it is part of his character to do that. Where women get screwed up is when they start saying, well, I'm entitled to somebody who every man should be driven that way. Okay. But every man isn't.
Right.
So you are lucky if you find one of the ones who is. One of the ones who are driven to do that. You're lucky if you find one. You're lucky if you are able to locate one of them. And then he's there with you every day. Or whatever he is doing today, it is focused on you. He's talking that over with you. He is looking how to bring that to you. That is important. That is important. As I've gotten older, that is one of the things that I realize about is, if I had daughters, one of the things I realize is we live in a society of head fakes. We live in a society where people are constantly head faking. These young fellas are on some skullduggery that when I was younger, we never even thought about. And they're getting a lot of information from a lot of bad sources that are indulging them in their powerlessness. If I had daughters, I would not want them to be with a powerless male. Because I know that such a male will never be able to protect her, never be able to provide for her, and worst of all, will never raise her status. Never.
Yeah.
It's not about me putting her on a pedestal. It is about if these are my genes and my legacy, I want the next generation to do better than we did. And they can't do that if she hooks up with a failure. They can't do that. So it's very, very nice. is very, very nice if you met a guy who is willing to give you a ring. I want to know if you met a guy who is driven to give you a key fob. Now that's what I want to know. I want to know if you have a guy who is driven to do that. Even if you never accept his invitation to go to Nordstrom's, although you better, he has the capacity to do so. Even if you never accept that, you have a fellow who is driven to do that, because I would want her to have that. I would want her to be able to see what that is like. And I've had the opportunity to meet females who they kill a man's motivation. I see them all the time. I'm doing this program tonight about why black women are alone this Christmas, because most black women are alone because you met your producer and you killed his motivation to produce for you. You met someone who, out of all the men you could have had, whatever his quirks or problems or shortcomings may be, you had one who was driven to produce for you. And if you don't appreciate how hard that is, how difficult that is, because you're so selfishly focused on you, then just understand also the universe has a way of giving and it has a way of taking. And then you'll have the opportunity to spend the rest of your life asking, was it worth it? Was it really worth it? Or were you better off where you were and should have found a way to make that work? Well, I was wondering, was he doing this or that with these other women or this, that, and all? And, yes, he did upgrade me and things, but, I be sitting here on my phone on Instagram and I was watching a video where these women said, you don't take that mess. Okay. You have the power to call a divorce attorney to get rid of your producer. Does that divorce attorney have the power to force another one to take his place? You have the power to become a single mother at 30 or 40 or later. Do you have the power to force someone else to step in that position? You have the power to run off the man who was able to buy you the G-Wagon. Do you have the power to recruit another one to come step in and take his place? Because that note is due in 28 days, no matter what you do. Do you have that? Do you have the power to step away from someone who can raise your status? Do you have the ability to force someone else to step in? Because you see, as men, we understand that. If you get with a bad broad, you got the ability to run her off. Do you have the ability to recruit another one?
Right.
Men understand that real quick. But then again, we're not as suicidal. I'll let you have the last word.
You're right. Yes, and thank you so much, Jason. And I don't know if I can thank you enough, to be honest with you. You tell all of us the things that I did not have a father to tell me, that a lot of us didn't have an uncle or older brother to tell us, or a mentor to tell us. And I just want you to please know how much, this is Anna from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I listen to you all the time. I really appreciate everything that you say, because aside from being the type of person who's going to actually push for our community and actually fight white supremacy, onto the aspect of how to be a good woman and how not to be. And also when you talk to the men about, what type of men they should be and what they should be pursuing and what they should be looking after, that helps me with my son from a female perspective. I already told my husband, our son is 2. He turned 2 last month. I said, I cannot teach KR10 to be a man. I can't. So I'm telling you right now from a female perspective, I cannot teach him to be a man. I said, so that really relies on your ability to be, not saying that he's not present, but that really relies on your ability and your father's ability to be ever so present in his life to show him the type of man that he needs to be. I can only show him one of 2 things: the type of female that he should look for and the type of female to avoid. I want to show him the type of female to look for and teach him verbally, not through my bad actions, what type of female to avoid. And to teach our daughter what type of female you need to be to actually allow a man to come into your presence to where he wants to uphold you and not worship, but put you on a pedestal because you're worth it, and do for you because you're worth it, and show you how to be grateful and how to respect a man. Because the fastest way, I think, in my opinion, women run men off is because of the disrespect. And then
Well,
it follows with you don't want to cook.
You've brought something to mind here, though. The real issue that we have is the idea that as a woman you can have everything you desire in one neat, cute little package, and that your desires have the ability to alter from one day to another. Rather than focusing on having what you need, we have a society that's conditioned the females to believe they can have everything they want. So I want him to be a certain height. I want him to be a certain income. I want him to be kissing my feet. I want him to accept my soap operas and my TikTok fetish. I want him to sit up here and grovel. I want him to be assertive also. And I want him to be masculine. And now you're talking about things that are in direct contradiction to each other. You cannot have everything. A man understands that we better focus on 3 things that we need and everything else is optional. She needs to be nice looking as she can be. She needs to be as nurturing as she can be. And she needs to have something resembling some domestic abilities, and anything else I can work with. But I don't get everything.
Absolutely.
She can't be a 10 and be able to sing operas and be able to teach Sunday school and be able to be a complete domestic house piece and be able to cheer for me at football games. Dude, man, this list is getting too damn long and too damn specific. You would have to grow her in a lab to be able to do all of that, because the world doesn't really expose a person to be able to have all of those things. You need to understand the things you need, and then you focus on that, as opposed to, well, here's the laundry list of fantasies that I want. Because what we've really ended up with are a generation of females who are alone. And while they're telling themselves that they will either take care of themselves or get another man, they're probably just going to end up by themselves or with a female. And let me tell you, that's not going to be very, very fulfilling. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again here. There are lessons to be learned in this regard here. I did tonight's program because I wanted to discuss why is it that so many black women are alone this year. They're alone this Christmas. But the truth of the matter is they've been alone for a while. They've been alone for a while because the great experiment to replace the men has failed. The great experiment to be your own personal narcissist has failed. And I'm just going to advise you, the producers don't adhere to it, and even the non-producers have lost their taste for it. They've lost their taste for it. I would also like to leave you with one last bit of wisdom here in that regard. The reason why most black women are going to be alone this Christmas is because most black women are over the age of 35. That's the reason why. The ones who are 30 years of age and younger have the option of maybe getting some things together so that this doesn't become a repeat cycle. The others, they've been alone. They're going to stay there, and the options are not going to get much better for them as they go on. And by the time they do decide they want to get serious about it, there won't be any good options left. The fellows who are out there struggling right now, they'll be competing for that and still not satisfied. But then again, they spent their lives unsatisfied. So how you start is how you finish. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up for you here now. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male frauds, and all my ripoffs who are going to be regurgitating everything that you heard here tonight, either next week or probably even tonight. You heard it here now, so go ahead and make sure you click that red subscribe button and that yellow notification bell. They're going to try to suppress this, so I definitely recommend that you go ahead and share this with people. Yes, this is going to stay up on YouTube, so don't worry about that. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, I plan on doing a Patreon exclusive broadcast here probably tomorrow evening, around 7 o'clock here. So for all of my patrons, that is coming here tomorrow. A few things I want to go over here and clear up some misconceptions. So go ahead and join us for that. The link is in the description of this video, so you don't have to ask where it is. If you want to join my Patreon, the link is in the description of this video and every video. So you can definitely go ahead and see about joining up with that. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program, either on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. So thank you very much for doing that here as well. We appreciate having you with us here tonight. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.